Happy Monday to everyone. It's been a beautiful day here in Southwest Michigan and Northwest Indiana, especially after a bumpy last week on Thursday across the area. So definitely nice weather to get out today. I know this week it's supposed to be bumpier again on Tuesday and Wednesday, but that means as we get through those, we get a little bit closer to turning left and going fast. So with the Monday Night Rewind presented by the National Compact Touring Series, Federated Auto Parts, ELH Detailing, and of course, Top Row Racing Media. Tonight we have another packed show as we have each week. First joining us at about 7:05 will be Colin Bozell. He's fresh off of 2 more victories in his 2026 campaign, one at Kalamazoo last Friday night and the Street Stock, which you can also watch from his view, the onboard camera from Friday night. And then probably tomorrow morning will be the Kalamazoo full race. Got behind on that a little bit. And then joining us at about 7:40 will be Scott Kosak from Get in the Stands, where he'll be talking about the bridge that fans can take advantage of with Get in the Stands between tracks and fans, and where you can find tracks all around the area. Don't forget, again, this Thursday we have Throttle Up with us with the Thursday Night Throttle, where we preview the upcoming weekend as well as the storylines around the area heading into what looks to be another busy and exciting weekend in short track racing across the area. And we're getting really close to July 13th. So don't forget, if you're looking to get a fresh detail marketing partner special from ELH Detailing, you can say the words Top Row and you'll be entered for a chance at a free detail. And we're giving 2 ways. So you could potentially get 2 details in the year, but definitely take advantage of that. They're fresh off their car show where they raised a lot of money for a camp that helps students and everything over in Montana. So definitely take advantage of that. And then also don't forget too, on the Top Row Racing Media store, especially if you're looking for those BARF stickers, I've had a lot of people ask me about the BARF stickers. So don't forget, that means bring a race fan. So again, 40% off on all orders, which includes the BARF stickers. But other than that, it's Monday, Boozoo. Oh, there's Drew. He left he got a phone call, I bet. That's why you had to leave for a moment. But otherwise, we have Drew Jack with the National Compact Touring Series, Midwest Compact Touring Series, Great Lakes Memorabilia, Great Lakes Promotions, Race Reach Media, and I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2 other things. And then, of course, we have Boozoo with the Bull Ring Chronicles.
You forgot I'm sorry. I interrupted my own introduction there, but you forgot the new Crown Vic series there.
Not Royal Pursuit. What was the now I don't remember. And
I honestly don't even remember either. The Great American Pursuit series.
Great American Pursuit, yes. So the Crown Vic series that he has coming on. And then he has one over in New York. So I forget what that one's called too. But I think that's Northeast, National Compact Northeast or something like that. And then of course, Boozoo, you've been part-time announcer at the New Paris Speedway, and you'll soon be hosting your own podcast every other week on YouTube. And obviously me, owner of Top Row Racing Media. So how are we all doing on a Monday?
Go ahead, Drew. You have more to say than I do.
I'm doing pretty good. It was a very busy weekend. I'm a little sleepy, but we're going to try and bring some energy to the show tonight. I had a double header this weekend. Like you said, I was announcing at New Paris again on Saturday. That was very fun. Nice quick show at New Paris once again. A beautiful Saturday. That's for sure.
You know, I had a great race at I-96 Speedway with the Midwest Compacts. We'll talk about that when our guests are done. But also a shout out to both the Russells M40 Speedway and Hartford Motor Speedway where I was at. Both put on great shows. And, Hartford, the Night of Destructions, they had about 70 competitors. The stands were packed. A lot of times, when you do 3 or 4, the stands aren't as full as you do 1 or 2. But I'll tell you, that was pretty packed at Hartford Speedway. So congratulations to Tim and Leah and their entire team. It's a lot of fun on Saturday.
I also want to give a shout out real quick to New Paris' shirts. I finally bought one Saturday. Great merch at New Paris. No free ads, I know. I'm sorry, Lewis, but great merch down at New Paris.
We're good with New Paris. Advertise all you want. But is that their 2026 shirt, if I remember?
I believe so. I'm not sure. I just like it so much.
Yeah, I didn't get that one yet. I have to get that. Oh, no, that's from last year. But I still need to get that one. I need to. Yeah. That's a good reminder. But they do have really nice shirts there. So
I assume Andy designs them just like she does the posters and does a very fine job. So, yeah, another compliment to New Paris for me is great merch.
Well, and the food too. I mean,
Yes.
their burgers, they have secret sauce that they do with that, and Tracy won't tell me it, but
I was
know process.
I was talking about on the microphone this week. Do they have the jumbo hot dogs every week, or was that just a this week thing? Because man, that was a good
That would
dog.
be 2 weeks in a row now that they've had the jumbo hot dogs.
That was a good dog.
So I do. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
Before we bring out some guests, let's click like and share this and get it out. I know it's on the National Compact page, Top Row Racing Media page. We got some really nice guests tonight. Colin Bozell, we'll let you get on that. I'm excited about that. That kid's been on fire.
Oh yeah, well that's exactly what I was just getting ready to do, is do a reminder for likes and shares and all the things. I know, sorry, I got distracted. I've been GoPro support all day has kind of been a best friend of mine. Sometimes irritatingly and other times in good, but I had 2 cameras fry up on me over the weekend, one at Kalamazoo, but at least I got most of it. It was with the super modified, so we have all but 2 laps, 2 or 3 laps from that, from the super modified, but his camera is kaput. That's number 14, so RIP to camera 14. And then the one that actually Colin Bozell has done really well with in the past, and Scott Elsey, camera number 1, which is other people's enemy. In fact, majority of the world's enemy. Anytime I had camera 1, nobody wanted it, but Colin always took on the challenge and won a couple races with it last year. That one bit the dust over at Galesburg. So that they're both getting replaced. I want to send a shout out to Tracy Blanchard. She helped with some of the cause. I was hesitant and she did it anyway. So she said, you do a lot for us, and so definitely want to support and all that. So that helped with some of it. So, and I know other people said do no donations. I never get into that. It's like, I never asked for that. It's just show up, do my job, do what I think I'm supposed to do, and hopefully it works. But yeah, so we did lose the footage on camera number 1. That's how bad it was. That disc, everything is pretty kaput. So feel bad for Keith Adams. Colin had this a few weeks ago with his not limited late model, but with the late model, we lost like the last couple laps on it, which I always hate when that happens. But sometimes I can't control the technology. So if you see me looking to the side, it's because I've been dealing with GoPro support for now 7 hours. So we're trying to get everything processed. But other than that, if we're all ready, I know Colin's ready in the staging area. All right. Good. So we're going to bring on Colin Bozell, who again added his 8th and 9th feature win this past weekend. First at Kalamazoo in the street stock, and then at Galesburg in the street stock. So we can sweep in the street stock. So again, Colin, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you fellas doing?
Great. Thanks for asking. And you've been on fire and on a roll no matter what car you've been racing lately.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good start to the year, I should say.
So do you want to talk a little bit about, first, just for those who may be at other tracks and don't get a chance to even watch you in person, or they know the name, but they don't know who you are. If you want to talk a little bit about that, and then we can go right into, 9 wins this year, which is, if you want to remind how many you even had last year, I think you're getting pretty close to eclipsing what you did last year. It's just been such a dominant run over the last 2 years. So first who you are, and then kind of go into, I think it's 6 in a row right now, if I was counting right. 1, 2,
it's
3, 4
9
in a row, but 9 total.
Yep.
So
well, every race that I've been in with the street stock, I've won so far this year. Every time I've competed with the car, we've parked it in victory lane. So
just dominant. It's impressive. And you did that last year. And is it the same car as last year?
Yeah, it's the same car as last year. We ventured out a little bit last year to a couple of the bigger races, and we took some, shots, and I think we had chances to win, but we just got kind of caught up in some wrecks, and it ended our night short. But no, it's been a pretty good year so far for the street stock, and I got a new late model this year. We took that out for the first time ever even driving the car, and we parked that in victory lane. That was pretty crazy. And yeah, we definitely don't plan on slowing down. We're chasing every checker we can get.
So how do you determine which car you're going to race each week?
I don't. I just I don't know. It all boils down to Thursday or Friday on which one I want to put in the trailer, and that's the one we take. So I'm pretty dominant on the street stock at Galesburg just because we're leading the points right now, and I haven't won a championship in the street stock. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to lock that up for this year. So
do you want to talk about that? Because you come from a championship family. I mean, just the Bozell name in itself carries a lot of weight in Southwest Michigan. So do you want to talk a little bit about like even what got you into racing other than probably growing up around it, your background and even why you chase checkers just like your dad, Jeff, and then obviously you have relation with Phil and everybody else. So like, where does Colin fit in all of that with the championship pedigree?
just a little boy standing at the fence watching them cars all my life. I was once underneath the bleachers with Hot Wheels building racetracks with a plastic spoon, and and then now I'm all grown up and taking checkers. So it's just been a part of my life for since I can remember. That's all I've ever known. So I definitely want to carry on my family's legacy. I don't want it to fade off or anything like that. So, and the championships, last year I probably could have locked up a championship somewhere, but I had more fun bouncing around, track to track and, taking on the challenges. And we won at quite a few tracks last year in the street stock, just traveling around and, doing our thing. But I think I'm going to try to lock up the one at Galesburg this year and just have fun. That's all that matters is if having fun and, trying to keep the cars clean because as most people know, is my racing crew is very small. So we just do what we can with what we got and we're there to, win races.
So you've been talking about your championship goals at Galesburg. There's a lot of big street stock races, a lot of big late model races. What's one of those races that you would like to win before you retire? If it's the Ravers Rumble or the New Paris, Czech Flagger Boy.
I mean, there's a lot of races that I would like to win, and there will be a time to where I'll have a chance to win one of those races. So, but I want to win a Clash. I've won the Raver Rumble. I'd like to take another shot at that this year again with the street stock. I definitely want to, I think I want to win in two cars in one night. That would be awesome. Whether it's a big show or a small show, just get out of one car after parking it and get in another and do it. I think that would be pretty cool. So that's another goal of mine.
And you even talked a little bit about maybe three cars in one night. Maybe not right at the beginning of the season, but I know at the beginning you're kind of talking about one night you might have all three there. So and wasn't someone kind of looking into whether that's been done or not?
Yeah, I don't know if that has been done. If it has, kudos to that person that did it. But that's definitely a bucket list because I do have three hot rods and I don't have enough trucks or trailers to pull all three, but I'm sure I can pull a posse together to make something happen. And yeah, you never know what track it may be at, or I mean, it's obviously got to be a track that runs the late model division.
Yep.
But that's definitely a goal to park all three in one night. That'd be pretty cool.
Sorry, just one real quick, and I'll flip it over to you. But back off on what Colin was saying, he must have it in the bloodline because Uncle Andy did that a long time ago. I don't know if he won two or three races, but he did it, and they ran double features, and he attempted to run every feature in the front wheel drives, the late models, and they want to say the street stocks and maybe the sportsmans at the time. So it's quite the goal, and you'll be very tired that day. Sorry, Buju, I'll kick it back over to you.
No, you're all good. We're just circling back to we were talking about tracks and stuff like that. What are some tracks maybe that you haven't ran yet that you have circled that you're looking forward to getting to, or maybe soon, maybe this year or in the near future?
Well, I ran pretty much every local track around here, even into Indiana. I've heard, some good things about Shady Bull. I mean, just how it's so racy. I want to take the late model down there and try it. I've never ran at Berlin. I don't know what car I would take there. But there's a handful of tracks. I did really want to go to that Ken Ross track and try that out. Um, but like I said, my team's small, funding short. So we just do what we can when we can, and we go from there.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, for especially for fans who don't know, like what does it take? And you don't have to give specific, numbers, by the way, but in general, like what does it take to be, especially at the level you are right now competing? The sponsorships, which I know there's not as many with your car, but the sponsorships, the costs, like things that you have to factor in as you make these trips to even to Kalamazoo, which is just around the corner, or to Corrigan, which may be a little bit further around the corner. Like, what does it take to run a competitive street stock that's competing for either first or at least the top of the board?
Well, first of all, I just want to give a big thanks to Amsoil, Damn Knit. He's got the best products ever, and he, supplies all our fluids, and I couldn't do it without him. But as far as like funding goes for, traveling around buying tires and stuff like that, I mean, we get a little bit of money in the beginning of the year by, friends and whatnot that we get on the car. But other than that, throughout the year, it's all funded out of my pocket. So, and it's not cheap. There's times to where we go and we spend 700 to make 700, but at the end of the day, we're not there to worry about money, we're there to race. So I mean, there's been times where I've spent my last $20 to get there and raced on old tires and came home with $800. So we just do what we can. I mean, we've been wanting to get up to Owasso and a couple of the other bigger facilities to race this year. We just want to get our point cushion a little bit further than what it is over at Galesburg before we take a night off to where we're safe, to take a night and come back the following weekend and still be in a good position. So, but yeah, it's not easy. It's not for the weak, that's for sure. So,
Well, I think sometimes, and I ask that just because, we've had other drivers kind of explain that too, for their kind of car, just because sometimes you will see fans, of course, say, well, how come that driver's not there? Or why is that driver not there? Or why is there this? Or why is there that? And it's, as you just said, like sometimes you're spending your last dollars, just to get to the track, hoping that you come out ahead, right? Or at least come out with something, maybe more, at least $20 back, right? Like, I sometimes think like fans and even sometimes drivers, when they want someone to be there, it's like, well, it was a challenge for you to get here too. So, like that costs are not cheap, especially when you're running a competitive up in the front street stock that also you don't have time to tear up, so
right.
do you want to talk a little bit about not only with this cost savings, but one thing that you do is you race very clean. I mean, watching you go, you're like a silent assassin sometimes in a way, because you'll be in the middle of a pack and next thing you know, there you are, and there's not really a scratch on you. And so like not only cost savings, because as you said, funding is hard to come by, but at the same time, like you're fixing your car if there's something that happens. So do you want to talk a little bit about your race strategy and how you're able to be so lethal on the track, but doing it in a way where you're not pushing people out of the way, you're not bumping them out of the way, you're just doing your thing?
So, I mean, it all boils down to focus, I don't know. I mean, it's all in my head. Like, I'm never racing on the back bumper that's right in front of me. I'm always watching what, the front cars are doing ahead of me. And, I know how these cars react. If there's too much wheel turned to the left, or there's too much wheel turned to the right when they're trying to overcorrect, I know which way they're going to go. It's, you just got to stay focused. And I'm honestly just blessed that all the, kamikaze moves that I've ever made, I made it out okay. There's been a couple times to where, I climbed the wall at Kalamazoo Speedway. I did it twice this year, or did it this year in the late model and did it last year in the street stock, and it's like gambling, man. You got to hope to God that it's the right play and hope to God that you come out okay. So, but you just got to stay focused, pay attention to what's going on in front of you. They give race cars a brake pedal for a reason. Sometimes you ain't got to throttle all the way through a wreck. If you just, slow down a little bit, you come out okay, you know. So
Well, in that high line that you run, right? We were talking before we got on the show of how, and I've said this to you even last year, just how impressive, it has been to watch you run that high line. And you've led a lot of races with that high line, and you've been one of the only cars to consistently run that high line and stay high. I mean, almost the entire race, you're up high. So, how does that work either with like your car setup, where others throw fits as soon as they go up top? Yours is like, I'm happy up here. So what does it take to that, and why the high line?
a lot of that has to do with the tires this year. You know, they haven't been really good for holding their stagger points. And I've always been taught at Kalamazoo that if your car gets tight on the bottom, you just go up top and it'll free it up a little bit. And I've made a lot of success on the top groove over there, as far as getting to the front and maintaining the front. And I've just learned a strategy on how to drive it up there. I mean, there's a couple guys, Ricky LeDuc can do it.
Yep.
There's a couple guys that's got it figured out, but I've sat back and watched guys try to do it and they just can't do it. They can't get it done. They either wash up the track and get passed by 3 cars on the bottom, and it's all throttle control really. I mean, you could really drive it all the way in there and either get passed by 2 cars on the bottom, but by the time you're coming out, you're passing them back, so
Yeah.
there's no really hard definition of it, explaining on how to do it. You just got to do it. Either you can or you can't.
Well, you definitely can. That's what I think has been most impressive about this run is just especially at Kalamazoo and Galesburg. I mean, 9 wins this year, which is almost as many as last year, really, really close to tying. And it's just, and you're doing it running a line that just a lot of drivers have not had success duplicating. And I'm sure there are people watching you do that who think, well, if Colin can do it, I can try to do that. And as you said, you've had some of them in front of you, and it's not because they're bad drivers, right? They're really great drivers, but it doesn't stick for them. Where it's like night and walk in the park. It's really incredible, seriously.
So we got a question in the chat. Color of your car is red. Is there a story behind it?
Nope. I've never had a red race car, and this year was the year to do it.
So if anybody has any questions for Colin, drop them in the chat. Either Buju, Lewis, or myself will read them.
Yep.
Was I cutting off Buju? Did you have another question?
How about the number? What's the inspiration behind the number?
The number has always been my dad. Like, he's always been the 11. And, obviously as a young boy growing up, watching your dad do crazy stuff out on the racetrack, you want to idol that number. And, I grew up watching my dad run that number. Johnny Foote ran that number on his street stock for multiple years and actually still does run it, I was actually able to just share the track with that car that I grew up watching race and dominating for the longest time all over, So, no, it was my old man's number, and I'll continue to carry it for him.
So you have a lot of family legacy that races. Growing up as a kid, you touched about it being behind the grandstands. Other than one of your family members, what was one of your favorite drivers growing up as a kid?
That's a tough question.
He was only rooting for the family.
Honestly, I rooted for them all, you know what I mean? Because they were all out there putting a show on for us to watch. So I never really, my eyes were never off my dad's car. I watched it every square inch of the track. I never really, I watched them all, but not like I watched my old man's car. So.
All right, we'll follow up with that question maybe a little bit easier. From your dad's era, if you could race with anybody from that era, who would you want to race with?
That's another hard one. You got so many good shoes that were back in the day that were, doing great things. It probably, I honestly, I have no idea.
I think Todd Curry or one of your dad's old teammates and you would be a hell of a battle at Kalamazoo Speedway.
Yeah.
Side by side for 30 laps.
Absolutely, you got that right for sure. I don't know why I forgot about him or how I even did, but he's definitely another one that I idolized growing up. So
So then for your race style, right, you watched as a kid, what are the lessons that you learned? I mean, obviously you come again from a family dynasty that there's a lot of coaching that can happen within that shop and within that bloodline. But are there other drivers who you watch as a kid where you're like, I want to be raced like them? Obviously your dad stands out and he's pretty good behind the wheel too. Are there others who you pull from or people who you look to as mentors or someone you go to for advice?
I mean, in this day and age, yes, I bounce around for advice from everybody that I can. But when I was younger, my dad was my idol on everything.
Yeah.
So um, there wasn't nobody taking his spot in that position. 20 years of my life was dedicated just watching him go in circles. So and then as far as like learning how to do things, it's kind of hard not to learn when you're watching it happen every weekend of your life,
Yeah.
so throughout the summer. So
What's a favorite win for you and you watching your dad? Like, what are wins that stand out to you that are meaningful or memorable or just because obviously within just between you two, you have a lot of them, but are there any that like really stands out to you that it's like, man, we needed this one or this came at a right time, whatever?
it's gonna probably be goofy to most, but the most meaningful win that I can think of at all was when me and my dad took the stacker car to Hartford
Oh,
and we won that race, and he controlled the throttle and I was up top steering and he never lifted, and I'm like I'm like, you're gonna roll us over if you don't hit the brake, and he had all faith in me on the steering wheel and we drove right to the front. So that was, the most fun I probably ever had because I was in a race with my old man and it was,
yeah.
you know, we shared a victory together. So that was probably that.
So it sounds like since the stackers are being retired at Kalamazoo, maybe we need a Bozell, if it fit in the schedule, a Bozell reunite to crash them, send them out, because they're not coming back, right? So you can help retire the stacker cars.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta say I was scared shitless with him on the gas pedal. So
I can't blame you.
Well, even that you've done Night of Destructions, right? You're a racer who has gone over to the Night of Destruction side. Not only that, but you did a rollover contest a few years ago. You've done different things. So do you even want to talk about like, obviously there's a lot of racers who they hear the words Night of Destruction and cringe or do whatever, and they just can't stand it. But for you're getting in a car with some safety and sending it over a ramp and purposely rolling it over. So do you want to talk a little bit about like that? I wouldn't say it's a journal. Like I want you to say what it is. Like what makes you go over to the Night of Destruction side just to go do stuff that's different?
I always show up to watch, and everybody's always like, Colin will do it. Colin will do it. And I look at him, I'm like, you're damn right, I will. Sign me up. So
Yeah,
that's how that always happens.
and you didn't you like injure a rib or something within that rollover contest? Didn't you come out a little bit banged up from it too?
Yeah, I had a bruised rib on the left side. I flipped that Prius, and it has the electric batteries in the bottom of it, so it's so heavy.
Yep.
And when it slammed on the ground on the side there, I bruised a rib. But we got out, and we were gonna do it again, but the car wouldn't start. So
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember that, and I'm like, wow. And it's good. It was a good rollover. I mean,
I hit it full throttle.
yeah, you did not. I think the wall is what stopped you. I don't think the car stopped itself. I think you made it all the way to the wall, but
Yep.
pretty close. And that was, and again, I just think sometimes, right, like, what makes someone leave that, turning left to go do something crazy like that. So I just wanted to ask that because, again, there's a lot of racers who don't embrace that, right? Like, it's like a dirty word, but it's like, I don't know, there's a street stock racer who's pretty darn good, who's out there rolling it over and doing these things. But that's a cool story, though, to go back to the stacker, because I mean, you got to share that moment, not only race against each other, but now race together.
Yeah, that's the the best memory I can think of. As I mean, we both won at M40 on the Smitty Memorial last year. I won in the street stock. He won in the late model. You know, that was awesome. We both got the same trophy. We both won at Gillsburg. He won in the late model. I won in the street stock. I mean, I'd have to go through the trophy room and look, but I'm pretty sure there's like 4 or 5 times that we both won at the same track on the same night. And, you know, I don't know exact what dates they are and when they were, but we got pictures and trophies to prove it. So there's a lot of memory shared with him, that's for sure.
So they call your dad the Master of Faster. What's your nickname? Have they given you one yet?
I don't know. I have no idea.
So we got to work on that, is what I'm hearing, because I don't know that I've heard anyone with a nickname yet for you. But I don't know. You keep winning these, it might, you might be the trophy something. Well, the trophy hunter or trophy hoarder, or I don't know, like something. Because again, just the run that you're on, I don't remember this, at least within the last couple of years, where someone's just consistently going out there first after first, and not just in. You're doing it in multiple classes. It's not just one class; it's multiple classes, and again, that's just what has been so impressive. But
his dad says cowboy.
Oh, cowboy! All right, there you go.
Yeah, it's been cowboy for as long as I can remember, but
he ratted you out. So you talk about a lot of people have superstitions or car names for their cars. Do you have names for your cars, and where did those names come from?
I do. My limited late model is named Shadow, and my street stock is named Midnight, and I haven't thought of a name for the late model yet. So I haven't drove it enough to come up with a name for it. So
it hasn't come to you yet. When it'll be the right circumstance that name will come to you.
it will come to me, but it took me 3 years to come up with a name for my limited late model. So,
and where do the names come from? Like, what inspires it, or where, what's like Midnight? Where does Midnight come from?
It's just, it was a thought, and I got a sticker on the bumper that's Midnight Rider, and
Okay.
she's just a Midnight Rider. And Shadow, it was just like, now you see me, now you don't kind of thing.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I like that. Because there's a lot of people seeing you go by, then they don't see you for a while until they're passing you when you're already parked in Victory Lane. I mean, it's, I like that. That's cool. I've always wondered, like, where do the names even come from? Like, what's the inspiration to even like Midnight? Like, so that's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Who wins between you and your dad in a drag race? 5 laps. Who wins?
Well, we know Jeff doesn't lift, so
depends on what we're driving. He's got a lot more hot rods than I do, so.
Street stock. You both get in a street stock, both set up the same, whatever, right? Like equal.
He'd probably win because he'd spin me out on lap 1. He knows better.
Well, and that's when it's fun, watching him race. I don't get to watch him race as often now, but even when he came down to New Paris a few years ago, that was just so awesome to see the Bozell banner there. And so it's always fun watching him race. And I liked I think it was his car last year that had the pink ribbon on it with the breast cancer, or maybe the year before. But obviously my mom's a 2-time survivor, so anytime I see a breast cancer car, those always stick out to me too. And so he had a really awesome scheme then. And a few years ago, you had a black and gold car. You had different things. So what goes in your head when you're like coming up with your schemes and what you want your identity to be for that year?
It's always, March Madness, man. It's either, I've always been into black race cars. The flat black. Gold's my favorite color because of my dad's Chevelle. So it's just and then this year I'm like, I'm going to do a black on red. And then that's just how it kind of turned out. I've never done a black on red. I've had black and red lettering, black cars with red lettering, but I've never done like a red body. So, and just so happens now all 3 of my cars are black and red. So,
yeah, because you did the same scheme for all 3, right? Like I think that's what you're saying, that they are all the same. Yep.
So the limited or the late model is all red because it came that way when I purchased the car. So,
Okay.
but the limited late model is getting reworked to be black and red. So,
Oh, sorry, I was reading Bill's comment. I was listening to Colin and reading Bill's comment at the same time, and then you made it go away. I didn't get to read all of it. So I'll finish watching. I always like watching. Oh, so that's Bill Russell, and you know Bill Russell. I mean, he has wild stories himself
I'll
too.
bring it back.
There you go. I'm listening to Colin, but then you pop that up, and I'm like, I can't. Like, you're asking me to do two things at one time. But so again, an endorsement from Bill Russell. I mean, you can't go wrong there. He's another legend in the area. So one thing I was thinking as you were talking, how often have you and your dad been able to share the same track at the same time? Like we were talking about skiing, we were talking about that, but then to kind of circle back around, obviously in the stacker you shared because you're literally together, but like how often do you guys get to share the track when you race?
we've shared it a couple times. At one night at Galesburg, it was Run with Your Brung. I was in my street stock and he was in his late model, and that was pretty fun. We were door to door for a lap or so, and then we've shared a couple times over at Galesburg in the limited late model class last year, the year before last. I can't remember what year it was, and we got to race door to door, and we placed first and second. I won and he got second, and that was huge to me because it's like I know that I'm holding the pedestal high for him, because I'm sure he wouldn't want anybody else to beat him but his son, so
Right.
that was a very proud moment for myself, after watching this guy create my path in life with racing, and to be able to show him that I focused enough to learn something. It was huge to me. So
We talked about your racing career, but let's talk about, you own your own business, correct?
yes, I do. I own my own tree service. Yep.
So you want to talk about that and let our listeners learn a little about what you do in case they need your services anytime soon?
Yeah.
I work hard.
Well, after last week, especially because don't you help with like storm damage, like cleanup?
Yeah, we do a little bit here and there. We try not to get too involved with it. We'll help our existing customers if they got storm work, but no, we stay pretty busy with regular removals and stuff like that. And we have hundreds of referred customers that we take care of each year. They're always got something to do, each year for us. So we just take care of them and move forward with it. But I got a couple really good guys that work for me, and they also work on my race car. So it's not only do we work Monday through Friday together on the job site to make sure our bills are funded, we also grind out our time on the race cars. So we're
Do you
just
have a social media page or a website for your business that you want to plug?
no, we just stay kind of small, man. I've never really had to advertise like that, or jump out there and make a like I don't have two business phones. I just do it right off my phone. I mean, an easy life is a good life. So the less stuff I got to deal with, the better. I mean, the phone rings Monday through Friday. Why advertise? I mean, I put pictures of our work out there, when we do big jobs, because it's cool to see the turnaround on what we did. But no, we don't have a business page or anything like that. So
Do you want to talk about who helps? Since we're on that topic, you talk about like they help with your car and even at the track, like who all is part of like your team and helps the car. And I know you help a couple others too. If you want to give them all a shout out as well.
yeah, I try to help anybody that needs it. I've helped quite a bit of teams out this year, just as far as trying to point them in the right direction, and trying to help them out a little bit. um I would never steer anybody wrong. I want to see everybody succeed. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody grew up around racing, so everybody deserves a chance when they, have one to give. So I just try to help where I can. I mean, I can't financially give anybody money to help them, but I can give them a little bit of the knowledge that I have. And so far, everybody that I've helped have came back and said that, the car's been either the best it's ever been, or they picked up a second and a half or a half a second since I've helped them. So, and I got Desmond, Sean, and Mike. That's my three guys that are with me 24/7 when we're doing stuff. So, and
Well,
that's about it.
and that must be fun even watching like Desmond. I know when he won a few weeks ago, I think you were the first one to his car, or pretty close to the first one to his car when in victory lane. And that, he's been on such a run this year too, watching him in that in the 44 front wheel drive. So I know I like watching him race because he has a line that he keeps and runs and seems to be pretty successful with that line. And I know maybe doesn't always get the results that he would like or hope for, but watching him win and then even watching him go out there and compete, I know that's been fun. So, and I know he's a really close teammate with you.
Yeah, I just think the front wheel drive class is getting out of hand. I think they need to go back to the old outlaw and DOT. Hands down, there's no breakout rule for the DOTs and there's no breakout rule for the outlaws. You're either on a Hoosier or you're on a DOT. Just because you're running ABC and you got a car like Desmond's, it's just fast enough to be a top 10 car in the A feature, but nobody really wants to come to a track to show up and give it all they got and race for 10th every week. So I just think, if they went back to an got rid of the ABC and went back to DOT and Hoosiers, then they would, minimize a lot of headaches. You can obviously have rules for the DOTs, like, not having coilovers and all this other fancy jazz. If you're an outlaw car, be an outlaw car. But there's just, I don't know, the split up on the front wheel drives is getting hard for guys to compete. You got some guys out there with $15,000 motors in a front wheel drive, and it's like, I don't even have that into my street stock motor. So, and I don't know. I just wish they would switch things up a little bit for that class, because that class deserves some recognition in that. So,
And that's kind of some of the drawback, which we, Buju and I have even talked about that, is that, sometimes it's those B cars who are at the front of the B who could be in the A, but, there you find those kind of betweeners where they're competitive enough to be the A, but they don't always qualify into the A. But then they're too fast for the B sometimes, right? Like it's kind of one of those that sometimes the drawback with the ABC is just where do they cut that line that night? And this year they've kind of cut it different ways, different times. It used to be like 16 would be in the A, and then this year it's kind of been like 13. And it's like, well, that's putting your fringe people who could be in the A, back into a B, and then they're breaking out in the B. So I get that this sometimes it's how they get cut is where it gets a little, like, I don't want to say confusing, but like, well, that's an A car. Why are they in the B? But it's where they cut the line that night, right? So I definitely get what you're saying.
that's why it's just easy to have them on DOT tires with a shock rule and let them eat. I mean, you're either, a zoo stock or you're an outlaw,
Yep.
So, and it's not hard to tech them to make sure that they ain't got, $15,000 into a zoo stock. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure they'll get a grip on that sooner than later. So,
yeah. So I know we're almost out of time here. So any last, thoughts that you want to share? One thing I was thinking is like the best advice you've ever received, whether it's been from your dad, in racing or just in life in general, or someone who, like, I have Andy Bozell once, so that I've learned to try to keep. But like, what's the best advice you've been given, whether it is racing related or just life related?
just, never let your head get too big for your helmet. Always be humble and know where you came from and stand on that. So I just can't thank my dad enough for raising me up the way I was raised. And I can't be a poor sport when you lose, because it'll happen at any given time. You just got to work harder that following week to get better, to go back out there and show them, like, yeah, I got second this week, but look where I'm at this week. So it's all in the mental state of mind. You just got to stay calm, collective, and go from there.
And I've seen that directly. I mean, I can attest to that's how you are, because I've not seen you like super fired up ever. And maybe you get fired up and I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. But you know, you're one of the drivers who I always touch base with first when I'm at the track. You know, as I make my way around, you know, I always touch base with you, and that's something that, you know, one week when the late model got torn up, you were still in a pretty good mood. I mean, it's like, you know, late model was literally torn up, and it didn't like, you're like, it happens, you know, just got to get it fixed and come back strong. And it's like, okay, well, that's a good attitude. That'll keep some longevity in that racing career, right? You know, if you let too much get to you, it probably gets to a point where it's like, okay, time to hang up the steering wheel. But that's one thing, hearing you say that, it's like I can attest as an outsider who's not related to you, not blood or anything, to say you definitely are living your words, because I've seen it directly.
Yep, you just got to stay calm in this sport, because for one, you ain't getting rich doing it.
Nope.
And, you know, there's none of us are going to NASCAR. So you just got to stay calm, and you tear a race car up, oh, well, fix it.
Yep. But again, the run that you're on, for anyone who's missed it, before I let you go, and I know Scott Kosak is already in the staging area, so we're about to bring him on. But if you know, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, on the clip, you know, this is, you know, you have someone who's won a championship right behind you in the street stock, and then you have another one who's, you know, pretty close to a teammate, right? I mean, you and Jeff Town, or you guys park next to each other, or close to each other at least, and
Yeah. We're cousins.
Yeah, yep. And so, you know, you're holding off, right? You're holding off, you know, Jeff here, and again, that the line you run just seems to work for you. Although that might be the lowest you went all night, but but he didn't really have anything for you. I think you could have gone 10 more laps, and he might have gotten close, but I think that was yours to have. I mean, you've just been on such a run, and then for people who then missed it at Galesburg, you know. Nobody's in the shop, by the way. You're by yourself, so that there are more cars on the track. It's just, again, you have been dominant here, where I mean, you can see there's, you know, quite the distance. And I think that's a lapped car who is behind you.
Nope, that's Garrett.
Oh, Garrett. Oh, okay. Never, my mistake. And but still, I mean, just distance. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, this has been what it's been all season for you. So again, it's just enjoy the run. You know, I know they say, you know, all things come to an end at some point. So, you know, just keep enjoying it. But, you know, just know that you have a lot of people supporting you and watching you. And even for those fans who may not like you just because you're a Bozell, you know,
that's fine.
They have to acknowledge, though, that the run that you're on this year, I mean, the worst, if we put that in quotes, is 8th place in the late model, and then 5th place. Otherwise, your My Race Pass stats goes first 9 times. So out of 10 or 11 opportunities you've been on the track, 9 of them have been first places, and many of them with quite the distance between you and second. So again, just kudos to you and what you're doing.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Again, and I know you have a lot to do and cars to work on and everything, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight and to give us your time to talk about your 2026 season and share, of course, your memories and everything. But we'll say that again. We'll see you this Friday, though, because you're thinking maybe double duty, but at least one car will be there.
Yep, we'll see. You'll find out Friday.
And then Saturday, you'll be back at Galesburg then, since you're chasing points there. So definitely fans can see you on Saturday at Galesburg, and on Friday, you just never know what's going to come out of that Bozell box.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, again, Colin, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. And then I know I'll see you on Friday. So I hope you have a great rest of your week, and especially with more storms coming, be safe out there.
All right, see you guys.
Colin.
Yep.
See you.
So again, we've been talking with Colin Bozell, who, again, just not to keep reiterating it, but it definitely deserves it. 9 wins so far in 2026, and 2023 had 1 win. 2024, at least at My Race Pass tracks, 0 wins in an A feature, but he's just been on tear the last couple of years. So really quick before we bring Scott on, I know he's been hanging out in the bottom there. You are watching the Monday Night Rewind. So again, we encourage you to like the show, share it out, let people know that you're watching. And don't forget this Thursday, the Thursday Night Throttle, which now both podcasts, I think with the help of Scott, are also on getinthestands.com. So without further ado, let's pull on Scott Kosak from getinthestands.com. So how are you doing tonight, Scott?
What's up, guys? I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you even got a nice little banner behind you. See, everyone has like,
Look at that.
a hotel though, so he does, but he has a nice wall behind him. But Boozer has this whole setup, and it's different again. It was different last week, and he's changed it again. But you have racetracks behind you. So what racetracks are behind you on the wall? There's a drag.
So we got the I-57 Speedway. I took that picture on a visit there. I met the owners there. We've got Lima Land over here. Over here. There's Lima Land, I believe. Down here, which you really can't see. So over this shoulder is the old Beaver Dam Raceway up in Wisconsin, which unfortunately is closed now. And then over here is actually Plymouth.
Okay. Yeah.
So I took all those pictures I took when I was just doing my various, running around, taking pictures of tracks when no one was there, and just letting people know where tracks are.
Yep. Well, and that's where Drew will be at Plymouth here in a couple of weeks on June 27th for a show with the All-Star Pavement Sprints, and then Compact Touring Series and Monster Trucks. So
I think Kenny Wallace just raced there a few weeks ago, didn't he?
Yep.
Not the best outcome. He was doing well, I guess, and it wasn't a great outcome from what I hear.
Kenny was just at Berlin last Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that too. Yep. Up in your neck of the woods, Michigan.
Yep. And I know that's Boozer's hangout too. So I know I had an audible reaction. I apologize for that.
Get out of the way there so people can see Plymouth. There you go. What a huge grandstand that they have there, and all the individual seats. I mean, you don't see that very often at grassroots tracks.
Yeah, it's a great grandstand. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, so you get a chance to travel all over the United States at all these different tracks. So, okay, I apologize. I'm now getting notifications, even though people know I'm on a show.
I was thinking that was a dinner bell. I'm getting hungry.
But anyways, you get a chance to travel all over the place and go to all these different tracks. And with that, you've been able to build getinthestands.com. So, Scott, if you want to peel the onion back a little bit and kind of how you got into racing, your background with that, and then what led you to Get in the Stands, which I know Crashers Adventures, who was on here, I don't know if he's still on or not, but Donald, one of his hashtags that he uses for everything he posts is Get in the Stands. So
really,
it's working. You got a lot of people using it. Big base that you've built. So if you want to peel the onion back a little bit and tell everyone who you are and why they should get in the stands.
Well, no, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on. GetInTheStands.com is the second generation of racetrack directories that I've owned. The original one was called RacingIn.com, and I launched that 2008, I want to say. My roots in grassroots racing, when I was a young pup, 10, 11, 12 years old, my father worked at pit gates at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. So I was one of those kids that the promoters hate, running up and down the grandstands, causing a ruckus. I was one of those kids, and being told, go sit with your father. But you know what, whatever. Anyway, so that was my initial roots in grassroots racing growing up in New England. Anyway, fast forward, in the early 2000s, I worked at a huge country radio station in Chicago, US 99, which a lot of you guys probably know. And we put NASCAR on the air, and it never been on the air in Chicago before. We were literally like giving them a 10% audience lift just by going on the air with NASCAR. And we did it for a few years, and then they promoted their local tracks program, right? NASCAR, what was it called? NASCAR Home Tracks was the first rendition of it. And I think it was a 2007 or 2008 Daytona 500. They put these commercials on TV. Go to NASCAR.com, look for your local tracks, whatever. I did it. And it took me 10 minutes to find the button that they told me to go look for. And when I did, there was only like 25 tracks listed. And I'm like, wait a second, where's Grundy County? Where's Maryville at that time, over I-30 in Indiana? And none of them were there. And there was no online portal for grassroots racing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to build this, because if NASCAR's telling people there's grassroots racing out there, we want you to go see it, and they're not giving everybody all the tracks, then I'm just going to build it. So that's how racingin.com was built. In 2008, it launched. We did probably almost 5 million viewers or users in about 9 years or 10 years. COVID hit. It wasn't mobile friendly. I relaunched it as Get in the Stands on a mobile friendly platform. It's totally free for anybody to use. They literally just go to getinthestands.com. The home screen shows a box where you enter a city, a state, a zip code. You hit search, gives you all the tracks within 100 miles. And we've got track maps for every state. And, you know, I was pulling some statistics. We've been up 4 years now. And in the 4 years, we've helped almost 390,000 race fans do nothing except find racing or race dates or race tracks across the United States. It's what we do. We build a bridge. I call it the GITS bridge, because that's what we want to be. And you mentioned that. There it is. There's the GITS bridge. You know, on your phone, whatever it is, it's mobile friendly. And you say that hashtag Get in the Stands. I started using that hashtag Get in the Stands, oh God, I want to say with social media, probably back in 2010 or 11 or 12. And I was like, hey, this is pretty catchy. So I bought the domain name, and I was like, you know, and that was back when people were like, I don't know, do I want to buy it, or, you know? So I bought the domain name. I'm like, maybe someday I'll use it. It's pretty catchy. And, you know, COVID hit, and I was like, let's do it. So long story short, we are all about helping race fans find racing where they live, where they're traveling to and through. It's that simple.
Well, and I know at PRI you have a huge setup area where you connect with a lot of promoters and owners, and then obviously you've done live shows on your pages. You've created all these different groups that people can be a part of, where some they can share places they've been or things they do. Others, there's more participation and not so much like posting stuff, but more like engaging with what you're prompting and all that kind of deal. So with that, what have you found, you know, being especially at PRI with in that whole area where you're with promoters and owners pretty much all week? You know, what are some of the challenges that you're hearing or seeing from them or from fans that really helps you as you mold and continue to build? Because it's always building, right? Like it's never
absolutely.
You know, getinthestands.com.
So for me, the biggest thing is actually helping promoters kind of cross that bridge into the digital divide. Now, I've been doing digital marketing for 20 years, right? So I was doing it in radio. We were building websites, you know, before people really went to websites a lot. And we started social media in, you know, 2005, 2006. And so the whole idea of helping promoters learn how to cross that digital divide and use it to their benefit, that's the biggest thing. And I mean, even getting racetracks to even claim their listing. So it's 100% free for any track to claim their listing and Get in the Stands. And that literally gets them the opportunity to put up their logo, their phone number, their website, their social links. And so when somebody's searching and they're on their phone, they literally hit the call this track button, or they click to their socials. That's what the GITS bridge is. It's free for every track to do. And, you know, we do some paid services for promoting race dates and things like that. But the number one thing is letting fans know, you know, years and years ago, and I'm trying to see if I got my copy right here. It's over on my bookcase. You know, there was the National Speedway Directory, right? Everybody had that in their car. It was, you know. Yeah, the National Speedway Directory. I'm just trying to think if I have one.
That used to be the Holy Bible before the internet for us old people.
Hey, I'm in that group, Drew.
I am too.
You know, and Alan Brown, God rest his soul, you know, had that for years and years, and then Tim Frost took it on, and I think the last one they did was 2019 maybe, and it's just like, you know what, everybody's on their phone nowadays, right? Word of mouth is not word of mouth anymore; it's word of thumb. And what I'm trying to do really is, I say in trainings, I'm not a promoter, right? But I promote races constantly. I'm a digital marketer. And what I'm trying to help the industry understand is, number one, there are a lot more motorsports fans out there than know where tracks are, right? And Drew, you've probably had this experience, and I talk about this at the Michigan Promoters Association, is how many times does a promoter meet somebody in the public less than 10 miles from a track, and the person asks them, say, what are you doing? They say, hey, I promote the racetrack out on Route 50. And they're like, what racetrack? Even though it's been there, they probably drive by it 10 times a month or whatever. And they just don't realize it because, people kind of drive around in their bubbles and don't really notice anything. And it's just one of those things. So every single promoter has those experiences all the time. And what we're trying to do is get the casual motorsports fan who thinks motorsports is a 4-hour race on Saturday, one race, green flag to checker, and let them know that if they go to a grassroots track, they're going to see 3, 4, 5 classes of cars. They're going to see probably anywhere from 12 to 20 green flag to checker races. Their kids are going to be able to find their own Lightning McQueen in 4 different classes of racing. And the family of 4 is probably going to spend $100, $125, and they're going to have admission, they're going to have food, they're going to have drinks. And that's like true value entertainment. What are they going to do? Go sit down at Chuck E. Cheese and come out with like Pez Pops or whatever after 2 hours? Or sit at Chili's and they're going to spend $150 just on a meal for an hour, and that's it. And they're all probably going to be on their phones at the time while they're there. That's that true family entertainment value of grassroots racing that I think as an industry, we all need to do a better job of letting people know, you know what, this is a hell of a damn good time. Why don't you come on out and try it? That's where I come from.
No, I think you're not wrong on that. You talk about the different entertainment venues that short track racing is against each other, but even in the motorsports industry, we're up against so much competition with different age brackets now. Like me and you are traditional race fans, would love to be at a short track. We could probably tolerate a 4-hour show, but most fans are looking for 2.5 hours. You look at Grid Life that was just at Gingerman this weekend. I saw some of the weekend passes for that. They were like $1,200.
Oh my God.
It was sold out. I mean, or near sold out. And there's probably 25, 30,000 people that go out there. And you got to find your niche. You got to provide a program. It's easy to get people in your venue, but it's hard to retain them if you don't put on a quality show.
Mm-hmm. And Drew, that's interesting to hear you say that, because I have this discussion a lot of times with promoters, and I'm like, how do you define a quality show? And I think the challenge is that what a promoter defines a quality show as is sometimes very different from what a casual motorsports fan defines a great show as, right? So a lot of times I'll talk to a promoter and they're like, well, if I can't get 15 cars, I'm not going to run the class. And I'm thinking to myself, if you get a family of 4 who's never come to a track and they see 10 cars putting on a good race, they're going to have fun and they're going to be like, damn, that's cool, right? So I think there's sometimes in the industry we kind of get caught what we want it to be versus what the fans are willing and entertained by, right? Is racing entertainment? Heck yeah, racing is entertaining, right? You got to fill time in between the heats and all that stuff. Yeah, you got to fill it, do candy tosses. There's ways to do that creatively. It's a little harder at a dirt track when you got to repack sometimes. But as long as you keep things moving, as long as you keep people engaged, I think it's a great thing, and so many people would be absolutely surprised to the upside of how much excitement there is at a grassroots track. That's just me.
No, absolutely. So you hit a lot of good points on there, like Hartford Speedway, Night of Destruction, packed crowd. The show went a little bit faster than what they wanted, so they had to buy some time for the fireworks. And a little secret, I used to announce, and I used to be okay at it.
You were a very good announcer.
And I don't like that. There's only one person that I'll pick a microphone up for, and that's Lee and Tim Dibble at Hartford Speedway. And Wayne Bunn, great announcer, but he'll be the first one to tell you he's not an entertainer. He's an announcer. And next thing I know, Lewis can probably attest this. He's seen it. We had the place rocking with a dance contest, and I hate attention. I don't like people being on me, around me. I had like 100 kids. I couldn't get them off the flag stand. Leah came down and gave away. So we made the best out of a terrible situation, but that's what the families will remember. Now the race fan are like, well, why are we dancing and doing dance competition? Well, it was either that or sit in silence. And that's what a lot of track promoters, you have to improvise. You can't just, if there's a red flag or motors, Russell's M40 Speedway, big late model race, the traditional late model fans love that stuff. But if you get somebody like you're talking about that doesn't know the track's not been there for 10 years, he drives by every day, and we finally get him to that race, probably not coming back because that race took an hour and 45 minutes and they couldn't see the finish of it. Not the fault of the track and the drivers, it's just circumstance.
Right. And I think that's the changing mindset of people when we think about the heritage of grassroots racing, right? Grassroots racing has been around for 100 years in some way, shape, or form, right? And the people who've been promoting it successfully for so long had a recipe that worked incredibly well, for so many years. But the launch of this mind meld thing that we all carry around, and I've got kids who are 22 and 25. People who have kids who are younger who have grown up on iPads. It's one of those things of being able to kind of put yourself in the fan's shoes of the new fan, not the other fan. Because, when grassroots tracks were packed back in the heyday, everybody loved it. It was the place where the community came together, right? That was the place. And Doug Rice from the Performance Racing Network, from PRN, told me one time, he said, Scott, he goes, what you got to understand about stick and ball sports versus motorsports is, like, motorsports, the track's in the middle of nowhere. And that's where they were, and that's where they started, and people went to it. And stick and ball sports are in the middle of the city, so everybody's there and they stay there. But when you're a track in the middle of nowhere, everybody comes to it. Now, what's that causing? That's causing the suburban sprawl, and then we need all these right to race rules and all the, protections and all that stuff, because as suburbs get closer, then people start to complain and noise and all that other stuff, which is a pain in the butt. So it's a part of knowing who your core audience is, but also inviting in a new fan and knowing that they're going to be a little bit different from the person who's like, you got to keep it moving. You got to, this is, the track's got to be this and this, and that's the whole thing of finding that balance. And it can be hard. I'll tell you, I think promoters are the most underappreciated people in the world. I think the fans who, do the keyboard warrior stuff, they don't have a clue, or maybe they do have a clue and they just don't want to listen. But at the same time, if you can find that balance and you can make the new fans happy and bring them in, I think we can be in a place. I mean, Drew, you guys got 50,000 people, following the Kalamazoo page, right, on Facebook. The reality is, you can't fit 50,000 people in the stands, and you probably got a ton of people from outside of, far away from Kalamazoo, just because some of the crazy stuff you guys do there. But the reality is, there 40-mile circle around Kalamazoo, there's 8 other tracks, but there's 61,000 NASCAR fans in that circle, right? 61,000 fans amongst 8 tracks. My God, you could sell all of them out. You'd have 30,000 fans left over. But I think one of the challenges that sometimes we end up with is I think, and I've talked to promoters who've told me this, and they're like, well, tracks can't run on the same nights because they don't want to lose fans to another. They don't want to lose racers to another track. Obviously, that's a big thing. But at the same time, I think when you open your eyes beyond just the core loyal grassroots fan, the number of casual motorsports fans who are the ones that we're trying to reach out to, those are the ones that are the future of the front gate at grassroots motorsports, from my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. It's so hard to, let alone get new people in the building. I'll give you an example. Media is tough, like getting print, TV. I have a decent relationship with the sports director in Kalamazoo, and I called him, hey, can we get some coverage on this? Well, this guy's out of the office. I dropped that guy that, from Portage, Michigan's name, Carson. Oh, wow. Yeah. Whoa. Well, absolutely. We'll cover something with that. And that boggles my mind. Like,
Yeah.
we can help each other. Like, even TV, over the air radio TV is dying. We can help each other. We don't want to be extinct together. That's just, it's a struggle for any short track. And you imagine what was it, Wake County, that's in a big metropolitan area of Raleigh.
That cocktail night that they did or something that they ended up with the bar night or whatever. I forget what the circumstances were around it. You probably do better than I do.
The same thing. They're making their own media coverage. They had that. I don't know if you were at RPM when they were telling a story about this TikToker that came out to the racetrack, just unannounced, did a video, and we'll say it wasn't the clientele they were expecting, and it was a great time. They were out there just because that one TikToker, it brought a very different demographic of race fan, and it packed the place. They honestly were shocked and very excited, and it made 30,000 new race fans or 10,000 new race fans or whoever showed up that night, all because of that TikToker.
And you know what? And that's the thing is, and I use this in some of my my trainings that I've done, is you can find your local influencers, right? Like Sycamore Speedway, and this wasn't even something that they did. Sycamore Speedway up in Illinois here. Last year, they had a woman come out. She calls herself the modern day mom is her handle on TikTok. Every day she goes to a different place. She takes her kids, her family, or whatever. She ended up going to Sycamore one night, unannounced. She brought her kids and she put the TikTok up. That TikTok got 400,000 views.
Wow.
And most of her TikToks had, 20, 30, 40,000. I mean, she had a good following. She's built it since then. But it's absolutely amazing how she just put it out as, look, from the perspective of her kids watching the race. And she's got a following of just moms, right? Like, how many tracks actually build a night around moms and kids, right? I know some tracks do, but it's like, make it Lightning McQueen night, or come dressed as your favorite Disney character or whatever, and have Disney characters, stuffed animals hanging out of cars. It's little stuff like that just, it's definitely different from the old school, hey, we're here to race mindset, right? These are races. It's dirty. It's greasy. It's grimy. It's loud. But you know what? It's also fun. And those racers are having fun too. They just have fun from a different perspective. So it's just everybody figuring out how to enjoy that together. And I think there's so much upside for grassroots racing. And where a lot of people are kind of thinking, oh man, it's so hard. There's a track for sale every day. I think the upside's there, and that's what we're trying to do, is just get more of those casual fans to realize, wow, there's something pretty cool near me.
Yeah, the problem is trying to find the balance between the casual fan and the traditional fan, because the traditional fan doesn't want any change and doesn't have an understanding. It's the same thing in all sports, hockey, basketball. Yeah. You look at all the minor leagues or pro teams, they always have something constantly going on from the time the game starts to a media timeout to intermission, and people get annoyed by that. But 90% of the people there are to drink a beer and eat a hot dog and hang out with their friends, and there just happens to be a sporting event going on in front of them. It doesn't matter if it's racing. Berlin is a perfect example of that. They built a social spot. Yes, they get big race car diehard fans, but Berlin is a different market because there's a lot of different upscale bars and restaurants, and they transitioned Berlin Raceway into that with their bar. Just look at what Kenny Wallace posted this weekend. It's an experience sitting there. They got a live band playing while the racetrack is going on, got a bar outside that's serving you drinks, and you just happen to have race cars going around, so it makes it a cool ambiance and experience.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, it's an entertainment district in one little place, all in one. And tracks, you know what? Tracks can kind of do, how much does it cost for a karaoke machine, right? You can buy a karaoke machine for $400, and during intermissions, you can have fans doing karaoke in the midway while they're waiting in line for hot dogs, you put a couple of 2x10s on top of a couple of buckets. Well, obviously you don't want to do that because the insurance people are going to like something that shabby. I don't think Dave or any of those guys are listening to this right now.
Yeah.
But but little things like that, like there's so much. Knights of Destruction, monster trucks, those things are going to pack every track, right? Everybody wants to see Sunday, 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 thunder, 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 all that stuff. But I think what we got to understand is it doesn't take that to get people excited, right? You can get people excited with something a little bit less and just keep them engaged and make sure they're having a good time. There's downtime during an EVA destruction, right? It happens. I mean, they gotta move the wreck trucks off. They got, all that other stuff. So there's downtime during all of it. It's motorsports. I mean, you know what? There's downtime in baseball games in between every inning. Twice, actually. There's 18 gaps in a baseball game that people have to deal with. So, you know what? The Savannah Bananas have figured out how to make that entertaining too.
Yes. And to your point, what you're talking about, I announced at the New Paris Speedway here in Indiana on Saturday, and they just started a new tradition last week where at the intermission they bring one class, the featured class of the week comes up, and they have a meet and greet underneath the tower. Hornet drivers this week were bringing hero cards. Ray Roberts, who has a Ninja Turtle car, had pizza boxes stickered up like the Ninja Turtles with candy in it. And that's something that doesn't cost the track anything to do. And then those kids go back to school in the spring and they tell the other kids what they saw at the racetrack. That stuff makes a difference, like you said. So I just wanted to reiterate your point, I guess. But.
And you know what? I thought that was like a regular staple of what happens at grassroots racing. I mean, have racers kind of stopped being willing to do that stuff? Because
I think that I don't know that the racers are necessarily aren't willing to do it. I just think tracks anymore, and then this goes back to what we were saying earlier about getting through the show. But tracks are so focused on getting through the show that there's not really the time for the drivers to go up and walk through the stands and meet fans and hand stuff out like there used to be. In my opinion, I'm not a promoter, so.
The first time I went to Sycamore Speedway when I moved out to Illinois, this was back in probably 2004, 2005. I was in the stands, and then when we walked out, the drivers who were already done, they hadn't left. They had literally just moved their trucks and their trailers out into the parking lot and had them lined along the parking lot so people could see the cars as we were going to there. Because, at Sycamore, the pits are way in the back and the parking lot's way in the front, like at a lot of tracks. And, I in the last 4 to 5 years, I think sometimes promoters are underappreciated, promoters are overtaxed and under-resourced, and they've got so many things going on. You know what? I think people don't realize how many things racers have going on too, before and after shows. Yeah. They got to get packed up. Maybe they got to go drive 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. So that's a part of it too. So, I think I love what grassroots racing offers for entertainment, and I think Drew just went out to try and do some promotion.
I was about to say, Drew's trying to get people in the stands right now.
He's back in the
man, some of the things that I hear when he talks about the Promoters Association, the things that they're doing, it's just like, wow. I was going through the Kalamazoo Facebook page earlier, and I saw those pictures of the stacker cars. I'm like, I think late June I'm going to be heading to Kalamazoo. I mean, I'm only a couple hours away. I got to see those things.
It's worth the trip.
Well, and I know where you can watch some stacker races right on top of Racing Media's YouTube channel, but that's where they're awesome. But this is gonna. I'm kind of sad. It's more of a demo derby with them. Like it's gonna be a final send off. But they.
I think it's just a final send off to the fleet. I'm not saying they're not gonna ever do.
Oh no, but this fleet, they've had some stories to tell, and if you've not seen a stacker race, Scott,
I haven't.
It is well worth it. I had one clip one time that went wild. I want to say in England. It just went by.
Oh my God! Some of that racing from England that you see. What do they call it? Banger racing. Yeah. Oh my God! They just beat the crap out of each other.
There's a guy stuck on the wall, and everybody else is just purposely driving into the guy stuck on the wall. It's insane.
And there's like not much left of the car.
So what, Scott, you were kind of talking about is, what does it look like sometimes at grassroots, like when Buju was sharing, and so we have J.R. Hayes who. Commented like nowadays, and this is something Buju and I have talked about. Nowadays, most cars are in closed trailers, which hides the cars when driving down the highways. And we've kind of talked about, and I even think someone at PRI, I think, said it this way. If not, it's at the Michigan Promoter Association. Is you don't know whether it's maybe it was even you, Scott, that you don't know whether it's a race car or a lawnmower service. Like you just don't know anymore. And
Yep.
now I know, and I was telling this to Barry with Great Lakes Super Sprints. I said I know when they're in town at Hartford, because as I'm going to Kalamazoo, it's like a convoy coming down 94 westbound going towards Hartford. I said you just see trailer after trailer, and you definitely know it's a sprint car. But it's one thing that I kind of mentioned, and I know it costs money. So I'm
the wraps.
Wraps cost money to do that. But it's like, even if you went a little cheaper and just even put numbers on the trailer to show that it is a race car trailer, or something even on the back, it doesn't have to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be wrapped all the way. But that's one thing that I, during COVID, I remember this driving back from South Bend, because Michigan was closed down. You couldn't race anywhere, but Indiana, they were wide open. They were welcoming everybody. Right? And so literally I just crossed the border into South, and went to South Bend, but coming on my way home, all the cars going back to Michigan, and it's like, oh, that's race car. It reminded me of like growing up at Santa Fe Speedway. You knew when the Izzos pulled in, and you knew when the Izzos pulled out, and when the Izzos pulled out, everybody else pretty much left, right? Like they waited around for the Izzo family, and hung around with them, or Schuler's down at Grundy County. You just had all these guys who did all these things. And so that's one thing that I definitely, impacts. I have noticed more open trailers lately, even at Kalamazoo. I mean, there's still a ton of enclosed, but I've noticed more and more some open trailers where cars are coming in, and it's like, man, it's like old days, and I love that, right? And I just kind of wish that there's a way you maybe can't bring that back because the box is already open, right?
Right.
And I know in closed trailers you can literally put houses in there of everything you need, tools and all that, and I get the convenience and the cooling factor, but it's like, how does it differentiate from a lawnmower service, or how does it differentiate from a lawn care service, or so I think sometimes that's how fans can feel disconnected. And even too, after the races, like at Kalamazoo, our pits are open as soon as the races are done. You can go down, but half the trailers are zooming out of there, ready to go home. And I get it's a long day, especially on a Friday. I totally understand. But one idea I told Chris and Tracy is, what if we offered some kind of incentive? I said, I'll help fund it. It could be like a sponsorship or whatever, some kind of incentive that 15, 20 minutes after the races, the new Paris pits are open, keep the drivers there, and, try to get fans to interact with the drivers. 15, 20 minutes isn't long. You're not going to get to everybody, but can fans get to enough people or find their favorite driver, their favorite car? Otherwise, by the time fans get there, like Bozell's hang around, Saxon's hang around at Kalamazoo, some do, but a lot of the pit empty. And it's like, well, no wonder fans don't know who you are other than in a car, because there's very little chance. So what are some things that you've seen while you're going around to all these tracks that maybe a track does really well before the races or after the races for fan engagement with drivers?
Oh, man. You know what? This is where I'm going to look really sad on this, because when the races aren't going on, I'm walking through the pits taking tons of pictures to share. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, I've had, obviously the candy throw from the flag stand is a big thing, right? That's a huge thing. Limbo contests. Here's some things that I've actually talked with tracks about doing, but I haven't seen them do. And this is a way to get the younger people in. Like, if you're a track and you've got 4 high schools within 25 miles, why not invite their quarterbacks to come and have a throwing contest to see who can throw the ball the most times through the tire that's mounted 20 yards away, right? So you get, do it 3 weeks in a row, bring 2 high schools in 1 week, 2 high schools in another week. They're all going to bring their teammates and their friends and everything to see if they can win. And then, and then the final, the last night. I mean, little things like that don't take more than 10 minutes, right? But give that quarterback 10 tickets for him and his friends, right? And then all their friends are going to come too. Yeah. They're, give them a special BOGO, whatever it is. But you'll get kids to school that have never been there before, right? Yeah. Play a little T-ball on the front stretch, right? I mean, little things like that. I think there's this misnomer that it's either racing or it's stick and ball sports. Racing is not a stick and ball sport. It can't be marketed like it. But you know what? The people who like those stick and ball sports, we can market to them. Why don't we bring what they like into our world and let them see it, right? I mean, you get 2 high school quarterbacks, they got pretty big egos. They're going to want to win that, right? They're not going to want to lose. They're going to have all their friends there. But you know what? Just, and you put a couple of you get Hoosier to sponsor it, right? Put a couple of Hoosier tires, put one circle on the, on the top or whatever, and see who can throw in from furthest away. And just keep moving away until they get, who can throw it the furthest away. There's not really any insurance risk there at all. It's just tires mounted in a football, for crying out loud. So just engaging things like that, right? And that's what it's about. It's just giving people something to root for when the cars aren't running.
Well, I know New Paris, they have a football team who uses their facility for training. They do bicycle training and all that, where they use the facility. And I went, so what if before, because Indiana starts football before Michigan, I said, what if, their final week before their first game, what if you had them come out on their bikes, give them all free tickets? They've already used your facility all summer. Have them come out and do a race to the finish, race to the start of the season or whatever, like that final lap. You've done it all. Now it's time to go, now it's time to play the game. Take all your training that we put together. And so I'm going to try to remind them of that, because I know the local football team was using their facility to do that kind of stuff, and they loved it and enjoyed it. It's like, that's one community service. So that's promoting something you've done in the community, that this can be a community facility. It's not just the track out in the backwoods. But, and I know insurance dictates some of what can and can't happen at a track. And that's nothing like insurance, but I know there's some things that, like I brought up, well, insurance won't allow that. Well, this track can do it, but that track does actually have different insurance. So maybe what they can do and what they can do are completely different. And it gets frustrating where it's like, well, there's only 2 of them in the whole United States that does that. Can't they have some things in common, to allow and not allow for fan engagement that's still safe? And so I might pass on that idea, because I do know the football team has used their track and stuff. It's like, hey, that could be something cool. Or get a Elkhart County invite, get all the quarterbacks from the area. They're already doing 7-on-7. Have them come out there and maybe do some kind of competition, tire roll.
Yeah, little skills test.
Something that, then you're getting schools engaged. And, and I know that's something that coming out of PRI was an idea that I had after hearing the high school racer. I forget his name right now.
Jonathan Eckelberg.
Jonathan, yep. Hearing him, and then hearing what a track did with their buses, where the schools designed the buses, and it was a rivalry, and the money raised went towards that school or whatever, that the schools got into it. So I think there's just a lot of different things, but it's it's one, as you said, tracks are under resourced. That's not you go to McDonald's or Burger King, and they're under resourced, and they're corporations. So now you're talking about most tracks in this area, the owners are still working. They don't get just sit around all day and do nothing except racing. Like, they have full-time jobs, they have different things. So I get it's a resource thing, but it's like, but what little can what little planning things can you do, or find somebody who's willing, which maybe is harder to do too, but find someone who's willing to take this on and say, I'll make that my project. I'm willing to make that my project. You get a football mom behind that, they'll make that their project. If they're, if their son can be out in front of a couple 100,000 people, that's exposure. It's exposure for the teams. Let them come out and something while they're there, 50-50, whatever. So that's why I wanted to ask that, because I know everyone's always thinking of ideas, but while we're kind of talking about it and what drivers can do, it's also you get to travel around, you get to see these different things. Something that stood out to you, we're like, hey, that's actually a pretty good idea, or hey, I liked how they did that.
There was a track who was actually working on an idea to. They have a local technical industrial school. It's a community college technical industrial school. They were going to have a table building contest at halftime. They were going to do a bracket. They had because woodworking was one of the specialties in carpentry, whatever. So they were actually going to do where the track provides the wood and the bolts or whatever, right? And it's all the same plan. So and it was who could put the table together quickest. And you get 4 people doing it at the same time. and you get the entire college to come on out and see who's doing it quicker, right? I mean, they get the college to sponsor it. They get the materials, and get the local lumber store to sponsor it. There's so many different things you can do just to get other people engaged. You don't always have to go and just root for the racers. You can root for the fans who are doing the silly stuff too. Yep. And that just comes. I'll tell you where that comes from for me. That comes from I worked in radio for 10 years, and we had to come up with silly, stupid games to entertain people at radio remotes. That's where that comes from. It's like, what can we do with no budget to try and just get people engaged? And you get a bunch of fans of a radio station, and they'll do anything. They'll just have fun as long as they can win a couple of tickets to a concert or a T-shirt or a bumper sticker. It's amazing how little can motivate people.
Absolutely, but I think the biggest issue that we run into is a lot of promoters are their own groundskeepers, their marketing team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And on top of it, they probably own a successful business for them to be able to keep the racetrack open. There's not very many people that work as not a factor into their racetrack.
Yeah.
So these are all great ideas, but it's implementing it, and that's it's hard to do. And not everybody is a Berlin Raceway or Madison International Speedway that has full-time staff, or that's what they do for a living. So how would you suggest to a promoter that's in that situation, Scott, that they can make the best of a situation and do some of the stuff we're talking about tonight?
So one of the things so my kids played youth soccer, right? When they were growing up, one of the things that a lot of the facilities, minor league baseball parks, and even the Chicago Fire did it, soccer teams, they invited nonprofits to come and work the concession stands, right? The nonprofit got a cut of the concessions for the night, but they ran the concession stand. I mean, they had their, their regular staffers, whatever, but it was a volunteer thing. The rest of the soccer club gets a discount ticket for the night or whatever if they're not working it per se. But I mean, why not invite the local PTA to come on out and, hey, you know what? We would love for you guys to come on out and have a game night with the kids of your school or whatever. I think that but then again, like you said, Drew, I mean, who's the one who organizes that, right? So there's all these different ways to do it. But it's a matter of, I think it's a matter of picking one thing and making it a priority, because the time, I mean, you can't make a 25th hour out of a day. And I get that piece of it. And you're absolutely right. Very few tracks have more than one full-time staff member. But I think there's ways, just to engage people. Local nonprofits are always looking for ways to raise money. And if it's worth giving up, 5% of concessions for a night to have labor that's volunteer, I don't know, is that worth it or not? Or to run a game or whatever, I don't know if it's worth it or not. Like I said, I'm not in those shoes and I don't have a clue what it's like. But I think if promoters looked at it and said, okay, is there someone that we know who's an entertaining son of a gun, right? Like, would that person want to do it? Right? Who's the class clown at the local high school that wants to, have a little stage, or, who's the local karaoke star who wants to, kind of put on some things or whatever. But like you said, Drew, I totally appreciate that. It's like a vast majority of racetracks are the second or third business of successful business owners. And that's the reality of the grassroots industry. But I also think that's what kind of makes it a little bit more personal too, because people get to know each other. And I think as much as that can be a challenge, I think it can also be a strength too, because the more people that a promoter can invite in to get to know what's going on and be a part of it and feel like they're a part of it, sometimes I think that might help in the long term, but you never know. Like I said, I haven't been there and you've lived it a lot more than I have. So you can critique my thoughts all you want on that one for sure.
Prime example, our owner at Kalamazoo, he's a successful trucking business guy, towing business guy, Saturday through Friday till about 2:00. but the fans will know him because he's been on that grill grilling steak on a stick and hamburgers for 6 years that he's owned the racetrack now. So, I mean, it's all family that's in the concession stand. So it's a family business if they like it or not. But at the time, the fans get to know and see who our owner is and personalize with him, good, bad, or indifferent. But it is, Greg McCarn's always at the front gate at the end of the race, shaking a hand. That goes a long way. You know, it's just a tough sport that we're in, and I think people like you, Lewis, myself, and Buju, we got to keep finding people like us because, I'm kind of depressed that, in about 2 years it'll be my 30th class reunion, and I don't feel that old, but I'm getting that old.
So I do have a couple years on you that I don't feel so old anymore. No, actually I feel older. My God. Oh! By the way,
we both have met and know Alan Brown. That makes us old.
Yeah, you're right about that. And by the way, I got to say, Buju, some of those videos that you've put out, man, those historical videos. The first one that I saw that you did was the one of the forgotten racetrack near O'Hare at Chicago. Yeah. I mean, I had no freaking clue that existed, and I was like, wow. That's amazing. Like some of the stuff that you're putting out, kudos to you, man. And I think understanding the history, you mentioned Lewis, you mentioned the track in the Chicago suburbs. I forget.
Blue Island.
No, not Blue Island. Santa Fe. Yeah. I mean, I never knew that existed because I didn't move to Chicago till right around 2000 or whatever. When we were looking for houses, we were looking in that area because they were literally building houses on the property that used to be Santa Fe, and they were like, "Yeah, this used to be a racetrack," and I was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
And now it's just like really. I mean, back then they were actually affordable. Now, no way.
Yeah. There is a historical marker there. If you've never seen the historical,
is there?
Marker,
Yeah.
there's a dedicated one. No, 5 years ago, 6 years, maybe it's during.
Is it okay?
Like that, but there is a marker there. But yeah, all they did is they elevated the land to build it above the track because it was contaminated land. So I mean, they did a couple different things to get around all the laws and everything to do that. But yeah, that was a sad situation. But I do know the legacy at least still lives on there. But that's where we had Brian Kusaban a few weeks ago, who's the promoter race director down at Grundy County Speedway, and gone to Ileana. Well, Ileana's gone. He went to Blue Island. Blue Island's gone. Like there's so many tracks that are gone that, at least with, Buju putting in the groundwork on some of these that, people are able to learn about them and see them. And I did let Buju know right away at the MSPA meeting where you gave credit and a highlight, like, this video that he did for the Right to Race in Indiana. And there was another media person there who thought we shouldn't do that, but oh well, we did it anyways. And some people want the credit for themselves and not want to share it with anyone else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But
PRI ended up sharing that. Tom Deary shared that video. He got their legal people and who are doing all the Right to Race stuff in Washington D.C. kind of sharing it and everything.
Yep.
And so.
For it, right?
Oh no, you do good stuff.
I appreciate it, guys. I do.
Yeah. I wish you'd do more, Buju. I know it's a lot to do.
I'm about 3/4 of the one. I got about 3/4 of the way through a video part of one today, so we're close to another one.
Yeah,
because I don't take a lot of time to watch that kind of stuff, but you got me to stop and waiting for the next one. You've done some
appreciate it.
And they're
absolutely.
A new YouTube channel that he's getting going too. So they're not only on Facebook, but they're a lot easier to find on YouTube, and they're his work. They're not my work, so I will never take credit for what he does. He is all behind that. But he did one on Montville, and I reached out to him almost immediately, and I said, what if you, to help him grow, right? What if you did something like that on Top Row? Use my platform that I've been able to build to help build his brand, right? I'm not against helping others. And he's a day one. He's even prior to day one Top Row. So he's been here since the very beginning. And part of the inspiration behind the circle logo with the 70s retro look. And so it's one of those things that it's like, you're you're someone who's been here since day one, and then look at that. Like, he could have probably got that reach on his own, but then by using Top Row, Chicago got out there, that Right to a Race got out there, all those different things got out there that are now recognizable. And then of course through Twitter, he was able to get Mark Martin and Dale Jr. and all the big names. So so thank you for bringing that up, because he definitely deserves kudos on that. And even at MSPA, you might remember I went, that's not mine. that is I will never take credit for his work, and but he does incredible. So so Scott, one thing that I was wondering too, with getting the stands and what you've built so far, what's a end goal with this? Like, where do you see it when you're going to feel like, all right, we are at the peak? Because like we talked earlier, you're still building it. It will always be building. But when are you, and maybe you already feel it, when do you feel like, okay, this was the ultimate goal, we've reached the ultimate goal of what we were hoping for, now let's go even further?
I'll be honest, that 1,300 tracks listed on the site. And I've sent emails to every track. I've messaged tracks to their pages and just saying, hey, here's your listing, just claim it. For some reason, we just can't get tracks to actually claim their listing, even though it takes 5 minutes and it's totally free, right? So if track promoters listen to this, the reason you need to claim your track is if somebody searches your city and you're in that city and you haven't claimed your track, you're going to be below all the tracks within 100 miles that have claimed their listing, right? Tracks, and it's totally free marketing. There, 370,000 people have used the site in the last 4 years. And the average track listing has been viewed between 110 to 225 times. That's 1,200 tracks times 200 people who hit a dead end that didn't get to cross a bridge because there was no link to click. And it cost those tracks nothing, right? So to me, getting there is getting 50% of those tracks to realize, oh, you know what? I got to go claim that listing because I want that bridge to work for me. Because people are coming to the site to use it. 3,700 people or 3,100 people used the site last week alone to search for racing or race dates. You think about that doesn't sound like a big number, but 3,100 people, if you get 20% of those to come to a track in a week, that's 620 people, 620 people. The average person who comes to a track brings 2 or 3 people with them, and that group of people spends $100. So 20% of those people who were looking for tracks or looking for race dates last week, if they went to a race and brought that group of 3, that's $32,000 in revenue to the 600 tracks that they go to, right? And that's, so that's the whole thing for me, is helping the grassroots world realize that it's not all either I'm empty or I've got an eve of destruction, that there's a middle ground in there, right? And Greg McCarthy has actually talked about this. He's like, okay, everybody, like you got 3, 4, 5, 600 people in the stands. You know what? You're happy with that. You're happy with that. How do you get the next 10? How do you get the next 20? Because the biggest thing is the new fans who come and then post it on their Facebook page. Then their friends that they've got 200 or 300 of them, and whatever, they're going to see that they were at Kalamazoo Speedway, and they're going to see Kalamazoo Speedway tagged, and they're going to be like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're going to go and they're going to look at it, and they're like, "Hey, maybe we should try that some night. Maybe we should have a family night out or whatever." So it's helping the industry, and I think we started with this, right? So maybe we go kind of full circle, is helping the industry cross that divide to understanding how to get those new fans in one at a time, and realizing that there's value in one new fan at a time. And I think that's the hardest thing, because the financial restraints or constraints the tracks operate under, when you think about it from the big picture, one fan here, one fan there, it feels like it doesn't make a big difference. But if you get 5 new fans each night for a 15 race night, you're talking about another $20,000 in revenue for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's that whole thing of trying to think about the bigger picture, because obviously there's a lot of pressure on tracks right now, especially with the costs of racing, to make sure they're getting as much of the back gate as possible. Because that's where a lot of the money comes in, is the pit fees and the number of racers and the number of people they bring as crew and family or whatever who are paying the higher dollar, the pit fee. But the front gate, you can't forget about the front gate. So I think, what does success look to me? Number one, it means more tracks claiming their listings. It's free. It's 5 minutes. Make the bridge work. And then it's also helping tracks just get to the point where they're like, okay, I got to at least put equal effort into front and back and try and figure out a way to do that, right? And it's not easy. And there's lots of ideas that people can come up with. And Drew, you mentioned this earlier. It's like, but there's still, it's like, how do you get that done when you just don't have the people, right? Who knows? Find the best damn car dealer at the local used car shop who sells the most cars, and tell him you'll give him $5 for every ticket he sells in a week.
Yeah.
I guarantee he's going to go out and sell a crap ton of tickets.
That's not a bad
Right?
idea.
I mean, it's every town has salespeople in it, right? I mean, sales is the biggest industry in the world, right? And there's a ton of people who are amazing salespeople who are, just used to selling what they sell. And who knows, you know what? Maybe they just get them to sell some tickets and give them some commission on them. Get those people there once, and then you take over. Obviously, the biggest question I ask every promoter is, if a new person comes to your track, are you confident that they're going to see and experience something that they're going to want to come back to? Because that's what it comes back to, right? Is if a person comes and they put in the energy to come and they feel like, oh, that was kind of a letdown. Yeah, I mean, you can't, that's on the facility and the venue and the entertainment factor. But I think promoters work really hard at what they do. And I think they work a lot harder than anybody even fathoms how hard they work. And I honestly, I can be a pretty tough critic, right? I haven't been to a track that I haven't had a good time at. Have I occasionally been like, oh man, that break was too long? Or, this is too, yeah, it happens, but I'm a pretty forgiving guy too. I'm like, yeah, y'all go get another hot dog. Go get another beer. I'll go do another lap of the pits or whatever and take more pictures to post. But it's just one of those things of, realize that what we do is a lot of fun to people who might not have ever seen it before, right? Like get some people there who've never seen it, and they're not looking at it through your lens. They're looking at it through their lens. And if we can get people to kind of step back a little bit and realize that, wait, that lens is a lot less critical. It's a lot less judgy. And they're like, oh my God, look at those cars. And the core loyal racers are like, oh man, that was just way too spread out. Right? That was a horrible race. And then, the non-critical fan, the one who's never been there before, is like, oh my God, that one's catching up. Look, he only's catching up a little bit on that lap. And so it's just a different perspective, I think.
Well, in this past Friday at Kalamazoo, we had someone who came from California. They're on a trip. They're just kind of driving and going different places, and they don't have racetracks in their area anymore. They keep closing. They keep getting torn down, whatever it may be. So they're just so excited to be at a racetrack. And I know a few years ago, because of my race day coverage, also at Kalamazoo, we had a dad drive all the way from South Carolina on 3 Red Bulls. He was an Army veteran. Brought his son to the races for the first time ever, drove all the way from South Carolina just because of my videos. He's like, I watch your videos, I saw, and I'm like, I need to bring my son to this racetrack. And so you just never know the reach, right? You never know who you're bringing to the track for the first time. But I thought that was pretty cool to have someone from California come out. That was not because of me. They're the South Carolina one was, but that one, just because they're on a trip, they're in a camper, and they stayed on the property overnight, and we're going to see what else they could find in the area. So it's like, you just never know who, what, when, where, when, or how.
Yep.
There are two kids that just happened to be sitting to the right of the tower at New Paris Saturday, and I was already down there watching them get fired up during hot laps. And it just so happened that they had already been chosen to do the command to start the Hornet features as the feature class of the week. So it happened to be their first time at the racetrack, and they got to fire the engines and the 2 Hornet features. So hopefully
cool.
a memory that lasts them. Yeah. They were pretty fired up.
No, okay, give me 10 seconds. I'm going to run in the other room and grab a picture I want to show you guys. Give me 10 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back with the picture.
Now we can start talking about them.
I can hear you still. I got my earbuds in.
He's got the earbuds. So we're trapped.
A lot of good content, and I hope people that do come back and watch this portion of it and how important it is and how hard not just the marketing people work, the track promoters, the drivers to get to the racetrack. It's a team effort, and I think a lot of people forget that all the time.
Yeah. So here's the picture, and this reinforces what it's about: memory and experience, right? So I took this picture at Daytona International Speedway, the first Daytona 500 I went to, and they do something before races that a lot of tracks do when they bring cars out and let people walk around the cars. They let people walk on the track and sign the start finish line, right? So this is a picture that I took. Hold on, I gotta turn off the background feature. I think I can turn that off.
Reveals real room now.
You're not gonna see much, trust me. Virtual background, none. Oh, wow. There we go. All right, see, look at that, it's like clear. All right, so let me turn off the ring light here. There we go. So this is a picture of a family of 4. Let me see there we go.
There we go.
All right. So they are signing the start finish line in 2005 at the Daytona 500. Look at that. One's a Jeff Gordon fan, one's a Tony Stewart fan, one's a Ryan Newman fan, and one's a Jimmy Johnson fan, right? They all got their own gear on. And that hit me like racing is a family thing, right? And I think that grassroots racetracks, they are 100% about family, right? You know, and you think about, you know, Kyle Busch, God rest his soul, and everything that happens at Millbridge and all the racing families at Millbridge with, you know, Brexton and all the kids down there who race in the families. Now that's a higher level with NASCAR and all that other stuff, but that's every track, right? Every track is about families. I posted a picture on our Facebook page earlier this week. The Right to Race thing is coming up in Kutztown, Pennsylvania at Action Track USA. So they had a bunch of people or a local, they had a meeting because someone is raising a ruckus about the fact that it's in the middle of town and it's a lot of noise. I went back and I did a track visit there in 2014, and it was literally, I think it was a midget of some sort, or maybe it was a modified or something. But the father was in the car getting ready to race. His son, who's about 5 or 6 years old, maybe 7, was standing outside, like handing him something. And then the driver's father-in-law, so we had 3 generations of a family there, was like standing back watching over. And it's like, that's what grassroots racing is. But that's also, I mean, that's the same thing as youth soccer. You know, there's a father and a son who've played, and a grandparent watching their kid. So it's a lot more familial than people realize. And I think that that's part of the power of it, is realizing that people are going to have experiences with their families and they're not going to forget them. And if a Kalamazoo can be the reason or the place where one of those memories happens, or an I-96 or a Berlin or wherever it is. I mean, it could be the old Dougherty Speedway in Boswell, Indiana, where I went and saw a race years ago before it stopped racing. If you can be the place that gets that memory to happen for a family and has a good time, they're going to want to do it again.
Right. And
that's the goal, right?
Better create those memories, or you're going to be on the Buju stories of the past.
Yeah, or you go on the website with absolutely no wall behind you. See, this is like, whoa, man.
Well, now just after staring at the track pictures the whole time, I'm like, now it just kind of feels a little different, you know. I'm like, man, it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
You look like you've ascended.
Kind of like that.
Oh, man.
And where it almost like you could probably do like, see you all later.
There you go. That's technology. Like, they didn't have that 20 years ago.
That's teleportation right there.
That wall can do a lot of damage in a way. You can make so many stories with that wall. Just do like in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Puppet things, the hand puppet things and all that. Just no eating stuff with them. But yeah, no, that was. I mean, I don't have a fancy background like that. I can't do that kind of stuff. I'm a little slightly jealous of a wall like that, but other than that, I mean, well, like I said, Boucher's wall changes every single time, so I always have to look at
that just means I have too much stuff.
I'm like, what did you do this time? It literally was lined with cards the last time, and that was less than a week ago. But
this is a different room, to be fair.
Oh, that is right. That is true.
Yeah, this is garage. That was basement. Yep.
But I know, Scott, you were able to help me earlier. We do have the Monday Night Rewind, and I also believe you said the Thursday Night Throttle that can also now be found on getinthestance.com, or close to something.
So we I started this thing about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I call it the Gits Garage. And if you go to getinthestance.com, and there's a thing up there that says the Gits Garage, and honestly, I created it as a place where any grassroots podcaster can get their own page. It's totally free. They make the page. We give them the header or whatever, and it's a matter of just getting your posts exposed in another place. And you know what? You don't. So yeah, go to the Gits Garage there. So there's the list of all the content creators. Oh yeah, there's you got to sign up your name. Come on, man.
Come on, Lewis.
My God, no.
It's a habit.
The lights were on and you messed it up.
Hold on.
So if you scroll down, you'll find yours. It'll come out. They come up in a different order every time. There's no method or madness, but there's a little bit of a thing there. And honestly, we just give a little bit of a description about all of them. But if you scroll down, just click on podcasts there. Oh, you got a Capital One card, huh?
Oh, there we go. Say this again.
Don't worry about
it. There you go. Yeah, put your information on the screen.
But anyway,
and basically what we're doing is, you just click that, and that's your Monday Night Rewind episode 17, and it should open the actual podcast, and that's the whole idea is just. That's a place where people can listen to it if they want. Or, you know what? The bottom line is, you get credit for the views when people watch that. It's the YouTube. It's just an embed. We're not uploading anything. The biggest thing is just that Gits Garage page where we want to just let people know where they can find tons of different, there's 11 right now. Tons, right? Anybody who's got a podcast or a video cast or whatever, they can ask for a page, and I'll make it for them, and then I'll teach them how to upload their content every week. It literally, once the first one's done, you just clone it and then change the embed code every week and the title, and it's easy to do. But yeah, so if I think about what Get in the Stands is there's this phrase out there called the single source of truth. Well, who knows whether it's true or not, but it's a single source of stuff, right? All related to grassroots racing. So there you got the Michigan track map, and you got them all listed. And then up above there, actually, since people are watching this, click the little globe and to the right of the sort results, and that's where people can actually see the map. And that map is, you can scroll around, and then you can zoom in with the tools in the bottom right. So they're all there. We got some motocross tracks, you name it, we got it.
That's not too far from me. That's why I was saying that with Redbud, because Redbud weekend is coming up, I think, 2 weeks from now? I think it's usually July 4th weekend. They have the Redbud Nationals. That's, it's nationally known because of just the dedicated fans.
Yeah. And as you can see, obviously that's not a claim track, but if you go back actually go ahead and click on any one of those other tracks there, and we'll show people what the difference is between a claim track and an unclaimed track. So click on Auto City or Hartford. Yeah, there you go. So they get a nice header image. They get their logo. They don't have their phone number on there. They got their website, their links, and everything. So if somebody comes across Hartford Speedway, the goal is to get them there. You know,
We'll just put Donnie's phone number on there, so he's getting calls for Hartford and Galesburg.
Let's see if there's one. These are verified. So let's click on another one just to kind of see. Let's go to not claimed. So this even says not claimed yet.
Yep. So basically what happens is if you scroll down, it'll tell people the kind of track it is. It's a 7/16 mile asphalt oval. It gives the address. You know, and then above it, there's the Google map, so you can get the Google directions. You know, we want people to find tracks, but, you know, it would literally take the staff at Berlin to click that green button underneath their track name. It would take them less than 5 minutes to claim that listing. And it's easy to do.
And then there, as you said, there would be like more info, you know, here.
Yep.
Isn't, you know.
So that social share is just like you hit that share button and that's going to share it to your social profile or whatever. You know, that's so that and race fans actually do share a lot of profiles. So yeah, it's you know, it's East Lansing Kart Track is there. Oh, there's Kalamazoo Speedway.
Yeah, unclaimed. Springport unclaimed.
Anyway, so you know, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's I always love to spread the word about getting the stands, but I also hope it doesn't get so dry that like people are like, oh my God, we're just talking about grassroots marketing or whatever. But you know, I truly do appreciate everything that the promoters and the staff members and the volunteers and everybody do to get this sport going. I know it's just as hard for racers too nowadays with the economy the way it is. The way rules are evolving, you know, I love the fact that there's this whole Crown Vic class thing now. You know, I mean, I know they're probably not as cheap as somebody would like think they are, but you know, what's going to be the next class? Somebody told me it's going to be minivans, right?
Oh, yeah.
That would make sense.
What is there that's in junkyards? I mean, God, there were tons of Camaros and Monte Carlos and Malibus and whatever. All those cars that, you know, when I was growing up and Drew, when you were growing up, all those cars that became the, you know, the stock cars of yesteryear,
Yeah.
right? What's the stock car classes of tomorrow, right?
Drew just got his next traveling series.
Yeah, well, Drew's already maxed out.
Monster minivans!
The grocery getter series.
Drew's Monster Van Tour. You could stack those suckers. Oh my God.
I'm already figuring out how I'm going to clone myself to New York next year, but that's another story.
Well, what I will say is stay tuned because there may be a track in Northwest Indiana that may have minivans showing up in the Hornet class not too long from now. So we shall see. And it's not the one that's behind you. I can also clarify that. So it's deeper into Amish country than others. And so we shall see. In fact, our guest, is it next week or 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks from now, may have some more information on that. So
Northwestern Indiana.
Yeah.
There actually is a minivan that races in the Montville stocks at M40, and he's actually pretty competitive.
Yep.
Really?
That's partly where the idea somewhat has come from. I don't want to say all of it, but they were going to race in a Night of Destruction. And they thought, why not race it in the Hornet class? And so it's a track in Amish country, as I like to call it, and it's the hottest quarter mile in the Midwest. So Buju is repping, sometimes announced, sometimes great fan.
Yeah. You've really listed
up. So when somebody mods out a minivan to race on a track, do they take the sliding doors off and put crash test dummies in the seats so that they're actually like in the back seat? So, but then again, you'd probably have to have the seats come out. Who knows? But
yeah,
it's funny, like a minivan with no doors, but crash test dummies or dolls in the seats.
We had a guy these similar questions, so I won't say that you're too far off. But I went what's the roll cage that you would use and all these other things. So yeah, I've asked similar questions on what we could do with that. I thought, put a bunch of soccer moms out there, and let them go at it. But or I would call it the middle school drop-off line. That's what I would call it now, is the middle school drop-off line. Soccer moms are not as much of a thing anymore, but you say middle school drop-off line, everybody knows what that will be. That's very triggering for a lot of people. So especially middle school parents, so who are part of or like, man, that drop off line, just drop your kid off and go. They're okay. They're in middle school. They'll be just fine. So,
oh, I just figured out where that is. I know where it's going to be now. They actually have their race dates posted again in the stands.
Oh, good.
There you go.
I believe.
Yeah, Christmas races.
So for any track that hasn't claimed their spot, how do they do that?
They literally find their track, and underneath the track name, beside where it says track not yet claimed, is a green button that says click here to claim this listing. And it's that simple.
So we'll go to Pleasant, and then it's right here.
Hey,
Yep.
claim it for him. Put it under Randy Ritchie.
Oh, no.
Yep. They have to claim it themselves. That's that's the one thing. We've actually had race fans try and claim tracks before. That's why we ask for a personal phone number so we can actually confirm that the person is with it.
Phone number.
And he'll be like, "Who's calling me?" Because believe it or not, and this goes back to the racing in days, we had people try to claim tracks that actually then claim the track before I had this idea to actually verify it. They actually destroyed the profile, and they like bashed the track, and then they shared it socially, and I was like, "Whoa!" I'm glad I caught it the night that it happened, but it was like, holy cow. So that was when we went to, okay, you can claim a track, but we're going to make sure that you work for the track and that you are who you say you are.
I'm not seeing National Compact Touring Series on here.
There's a lot of things you probably don't see that I haven't done.
There's tons on there that you don't see. It's just, it's, and suggest the tracker series, that button on the right there. That's where everything starts.
You better suggest me, Lewis. I'll get it done.
Oh, I will.
I'll put all 8 of them in there. I'll make them work tonight.
Doing a little extra work, but I know, Scott, we've kept you a really long time, but I feel like it's very valuable because we got get in the stands out there more now, hopefully more. Definitely want everyone to share this out there. Of course, like the podcast, but the goal when I reached out to you originally was like, how can we get in the stands out there more, especially as race season was going on. And I know you were traveling at that time, and then your response went to my spam folder. Figured out why a lot of responses were going to spam folder. It was a security setting that I messed up on, and I fixed that really quick.
Technology makes everything so easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I've never set up my own email, and I'm the admin of it. So Google said click here, click here, click here. So I'm clicking, and apparently I wasn't supposed to click that, even though it said to click that. So I fixed that. And so all of a sudden, a couple of responses showed up to other people too, and I'm like, I was able to reach back, and I appreciate because we did have a cancellation for 740. So I said, I know it's late notice, but would you be able to come on? Because I've been wanting to get you on to do that. And so I'm really glad that you're able to fit it in, and hopefully more people know now, race fans, drivers, I'll show up the graphic one more time to get in the stands.com. Sorry, I'm turning on lights because now it's dark in my room, but the sun went down over Lake Michigan. So, but get in stands.com. And this is where, the bridge you're able to find. And we just showed, if you missed it, once we're done being live, you'll be able to go back and you can see exactly where I clicked. I went in getinstands.com. We clicked on, I clicked on state maps and clicked Michigan. And there's a couple different ways that you can view that. So, if you're looking for a track, or when Buju and I are on the Thursday Night Throttle and we're talking about a track and you're like, I don't know where Tri-City Motor Speedway is. Now you can go there and at least see where it is on the map and put it in. I mean, I know everyone has Google Maps, but it would be very easy to see the track profile. Is it semi-banked? Is it somewhat, what can they expect? And so, definitely, visit. Scott's put a lot of work into this, and it's free for tracks to claim. It's free for series to claim. It was free for me. It took, a few minutes while I was waiting for GoPro support. That's where Scott was messaging me very furiously. I'm like, okay, not furiously, feverishly, or is that the right word? I don't know. Whatever. And I'm like, man, I'm arguing with GoPro support, and then I'm, doing this and editing. And so I appreciate you. I mean, you were Johnny on the spot with responses. So it was coming in faster than I could even keep up. But I was a little frustrated with GoPro support by that point. So
no, that's right. And thank you for doing what you do. I mean, I met you, I think I met Drew for the first time 3 or 4 years ago when I went to the first MSPA meeting, and you were probably there or shortly thereafter. And Whatever the stuff that you do and the stuff that every grassroots content creator does to help get the word out there. I mean, yeah, is a lot of it landing on the ears of the people who are already loving it and everything else? Absolutely. But you know what? That's where it starts.
Yep.
And then it's sharing that with somebody else. And if, and I appreciate you having me on. But I also appreciate you telling the stories of the racers, because that's what matters too, is people like Jalen Brunson because he seems like a genuinely good guy, right? And he met a kid from the Children's Miracle Network and fulfilled his wish like 2 weeks ago, and then the kid ended up passing away, and he talked about that in his press conference, before the final game. But every racer's got a story just like that.
Right.
And I think the more we can help people see, the person behind the mask, or the person under the helmet, and realize that their neighbor, just loves to go fast.
Right.
And they hate it when somebody cuts them off. So sometimes they whoop them around too.
Yeah. Well, and that's where New Paris doing their new program. I was throwing names out when Chris Mandel, one of the owners at New Paris, and I said showcase, class of the week, and he slept on it, and he called me the next day and he said, so what do you think we should call this? And I said, showcase class. He's like, you know what? I woke up thinking the same thing, because we were in the tower throwing around names and all that. Because this is something Tracy has wanted to do because of that exact thing. Them under the helmet. And in fact, it was just in the Stevensville Mire. I was getting ready to go to Kalamazoo last week. I was already running behind, and I ran into somebody who lives in my town. I didn't even know they lived in my town. Their kids go to the district that I used to teach at, and they're a racer, their dad's a racer, very famous names over at Berlin, and they weren't in a helmet or anything, so I didn't recognize them. They weren't in the fire suit, and I'm like, it's a lot easier for people to know me than it is for me to always know everybody, because it's very easy to say Top Row Lewis, and I have fans saying hi all the time. Like, tell me your name, and you tell me enough times, I'll remember it. But that's something that I'm just sitting there trying to get a pop, and comes around the corner, and I have nothing. Oh no, it was last Thursday when I went to a softball game in East Lansing. That's what I was on my way to, and he said, "Are you from Top Row?" And I went, well, he watched the car pull in, which has Top Row, of course, all over it. I'm nothing Top Row. I'm wearing zero things Top Row.
Yep.
But recognized me because of the car, watched me walk in. And then once he said who he was, I'm like, I know who you are now. It's just you're not in a fire suit, or you're not sitting in a car with a helmet on where I would be able to recognize you. So I definitely think it's those kind of things of telling the story, peeling the helmet back. We were just talking about spotlights the other day, and I said always around this time of year I take that pause, because it's a new season, let's get new stats and everything, then I can bring that back. I said usually I bring them back, and although everyone's like, where are you going to fit that in? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I definitely always appreciate the stories, and usually a driver will have one conversation with me, and I can write a whole spotlight on them. And like, how do you remember all that? If I wrote notes, it'd mean nothing to me, but because it was a conversation, it meant everything. So I remember conversations, and so I try to pay really good attention to them and keep all of that in my mind. So that's where I definitely appreciate the stories that you've been able to help tell about tracks. I know that's how I came across your page a few years ago. You were visiting some tracks in the area and just doing video at them, and those are the kind of things that we need, because think of how many fans you've probably come across like, that track's still open, didn't even know that was there. And so again, that's where if you ever feel that way, I'll show the graphic one more time. Go to getinthestands.com, and there's some tracks on that listing in Michigan. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. And I live in Michigan. Now there, in fairness, some of them are really far away from me when I looked at the map. So I'm like, that's probably why I don't know it. But get there, see the tracks in the area, see what's going on, get their schedules, and if they're not claimed yet by that track, encourage someone at that track to go and claim it. And as Scott said, it's absolutely free. It costs them nothing but 5 to 10 minutes a time. It took me, I think, 7 minutes total to do my listing, and that's just because I was also with GoPro support. But I clicked the link, and I was going through that, and had to pick a cover photo, and then it wasn't fitting. I'm like, I'll come back to it later. It looks wonky, but I'll fix it later. And not much time to do, and then you get to be in those search results. So definitely take advantage of it. But like I said, I know we've kept you a while now. So
Not a problem.
Any last words or anything good for the group?
No, just thank you for having me. Thank you guys for doing what you do. And I mean, without you guys doing what you do, there'd be no need for me. So thank you for that. And my other thing, and I think this was you guys. Did you guys launch the fart thing?
Barf, yeah.
Barf. No,
Yeah, that's Lewis, yeah.
Barf. Bring a race fan. I saw that today. That's awesome.
Yep, that's my thing.
Do the barf. Bring a race fan, or bring a non-fan. Banff. That doesn't work.
Bring a not. Oh,
bring a new fan.
Bring a. I'll think of something with it. Maybe I'll think of something.
Bring a rookie fan. Bring a rookie fan.
Bring a rookie fan. Oh,
there you go.
Still barf. But yeah, that's where I keep telling people, like, if Mean Girls can make work, I'm going to try to make barf work. And so that's where it's like, I now have bumper stickers on my website, and everything's 40% off until tomorrow morning. So it's like, go get a barf sticker, put it on there, and make people look twice. And I said, that's why I came up with it, because I was watching something and they were talking about BOGO, and New Paris challenged me with a task of creating some promotional things for them. And so I'm, typing up this huge document, and I'm like, what can I do with BOGO? Everyone does BOGO. BOGO's not that interesting. And so I Googled, different things to see, is this claimed? Is this claimed? Is this claimed? And, once I start coming up with some acronyms, and so barf wasn't a thing anywhere. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make it, tongue in cheek, right? Because if I say, man, that racing action just made me want to barf last night, you're going to get people to go, wait, what? They're going to want to hear it again. And then I said, now you're hooked. And now you got the thing, because they have to think twice of what you just said.
Yep.
And so I said, that's marketing. If you can get people to look at something twice, or make something, think of how many cookie creations or cupcake creations you go to some bakeries, and you're like, wait, what did they do? And then you walk out with one, because you want to know, what does that taste like? And, so that was kind of the intent behind it. So I'm going to come up with different graphics as this week. Is my goal is to create a few different ones. So it's not the same one all the time. But it's definitely, there's some people who are already into it and making it a thing. So I'm like, let's just make it a thing. And but I'm like, if I see other people stealing, and I know exactly where they got it from, because TikTok, in fairness, but Facebook and all these other places, it did not come up in the search at all. And I went, all right, we're gonna make that a thing. So, and Chris and Tracy just absolutely ate it up, no pun. So that's from like, all right, let's make it a thing. So yeah, that. We had Kalamazoo was the first track to do 2 tickets, and the people did cash them in. They went and got them. And so I plan to talk with Hartford about it. I plan to talk with M40 about it. Drew suggested Winston and a few others, where my goal is to make it even a weekend combo, where you can go to Kalamazoo on Friday night with 2 tickets, and then maybe you go to New Paris on Saturday, or maybe it's Hartford and M40, or maybe a Wasso gets in there, or someone else gets in there, and not make it the same package all the time, but try to change it up a little bit. And whether I have to buy the tickets or track supplies the tickets, I'm like, if I'm talking about it, I got to do my part. And so my part is, let's put 2 tickets out there, and, it's your role then it's their job to claim them, right? If I'm providing them, show up. And what we did is I had Boujou make the wheel for me, since I was going to be late. And we drew through 3 names, because if one person wasn't going to claim it or show up, we were going to give it to the next person until we got success. Let's use these tickets. So, hopefully we can continue to make it a thing, and it builds.
I'm writing a post right now. I just found the stickers on your website.
Okay.
I'm going to does great racing make you want to barf? Bring a race fan, and I'm going to throw it up there and get that image up there for you. And we're going to see if we can get people to barf this weekend.
I hope so. Barf anywhere and everywhere. And what I told the race fan on Friday said, as long as you barf to the right, because the drivers are going to the left. So, because when you get in a ride, they say, if you have to barf this direction. So, So it's one of those things that we're going to make it a thing one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely appreciate that too, because it gets it out there, right? And so, hopefully people, fans, not just people, but race fans start doing it. Bring someone new, bring someone different. But yeah, definitely, it's a campaign that I'm investing myself into. So,
I think it's awesome.
again, it'll make people look twice, and that was kind of the goal: is what will make them look twice. And I thought, barf, why not? And sometimes barf makes people giggle. So, like maybe they'll be very cheerful and happy, right? The other one I was going to come up with was going to be something with fart, and I thought, nah, that might be a little too far, and so I didn't do that one. But I was trying to come up with an algorithm acronym for that one too. But doesn't this racing action just make you, it's like Taco Bell, right? Everybody knows what happens when you go Taco Bell. So doesn't racing action just make you want to whatever, right? So
I think it's awesome.
barf is where we landed. But again, Scott, thank you again so much for your time tonight. Thank you for sharing that out too. I'll be sure to share that post. That way, everyone can, even go to Get in the Stands and hopefully follow it if they're not already.
You know what? Let's sell some bumper stickers, for crying out loud. That's what racing is, right? We gotta sell stuff, for crying out loud.
And it's 40% off automatically. They don't even have to type in a discount. It's literally, they just put it in the cart.
Beautiful.
Automatically 40% off. It's the Monday Night Rewind discount. So they don't
Beautiful.
put it in the cart and buy it. So again, thank you so much for that too.
Drew, I'm going to come out. I got to double check my schedule, but I think I'm going to be at Kalamazoo for the Stackers. I got to see that.
If you get with Lewis, we'll make sure you get in. Unfortunately, I will be at another venue that night.
Oh man!
But I'm going to tell you something. They're not getting rid of what we do. They're just retiring some of our fleet that's overdue to be retired. So instead of doing a school bus race, they're going to do a school bus demolition derby. They're going to do a stacker car derby. Lewis's race from New Paris, whoever invented that, the Pac-Man race, is really entertaining. And then they're doing a cow tipping that looks kind of cool.
Nice. So are the Stackers going to actually race laps that night before they do the demo derby?
Honestly, I don't think they have enough power to do that. They probably just have enough power to destroy each other.
Just have fun.
Have fun. So
awesome.
But
thank you guys for having me.
Kenny had in his group, and Donnie are putting a great effort into that. So I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah. So let me know if you're coming, and we'll make sure to get you in for sure.
Absolutely will.
All right. Well, just to remind everyone again, we've been talking with Scott Kosak from getinthestands.com. So if you've not been to the website, definitely favorite it. You can find tracks anywhere and everywhere. So again, Scott, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Boozhoo, thank you again for another awesome show. It's packed between you and Colin. Lots of information out there. Then, of course, Drew, we don't get to see Drew too often. He's busy, but this is one of his kind of not super busy weeks so far. But by tomorrow, it'll change. He'll be busy again. But again,
he didn't realize he was getting into a 2.5-hour gig tonight either.
Oh, I know. This is mild compared to some of them.
That's all good.
What's nice is it hasn't felt that way because again,
no, definitely not.
So that's when you look at the time, you're like, holy cow, it's already 9:22 for us. And I think you're at 8:22 still.
Yeah.
So we've already lived the 8 o'clock hour. You're just now living it for us. But again, Scott, thank you so much. And while you're on, I do want to remind everyone that Thursday Night Throttle once again returns this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Boozhoo and I will preview the upcoming weekend of events around the area. And then also don't forget, as Scott was just talking about, let's maybe sell some bumper stickers. So if you want to barf or show people that you barf, 40% off on all orders. All you have to do is literally add it to your cart, and that's it. The discount automatically applies, and it's toprowracingmedia.com/store. Takes Apple Pay, whatever you have, it takes. And then you've been watching the Monday Night Rewind, where once again we'll be back next Monday night at 7 p.m. One of the guests who we will have will be KTS, Kalamazoo Track Services, Joe Schaefer, and maybe a guest or two to talk track safety and what it is to be on a track safety team. So I'm excited to have the KTS team as part of the Monday Night Rewind next week. Not sure quite on time yet. It'll be 7:05 or 7:40, waiting for my other guests to confirm which slot they would like. But otherwise, we will have the Monday Night Rewind with Kalamazoo Track Services joining us. And then the week after, we turn to focus big time on the New Paris Night of Destruction that will be coming up on July 3rd with a couple Night of Destruction competitors coming on to talk about why they do what they do and the show that they're looking forward to put on at the New Paris Speedway. So again, just before we sign off, I'm Lewis with Topper Racing Media. We're finishing with Scott Kosak from GetInTheStance.com, Drew Jack with the National Compact Touring Series, Midwest Compact Touring Series, Great Lakes Memorabilia, Great Lakes Promotions, Race Reach Media, and now the oh my gosh, I forgot again. What was it? Great American Pursuit, Crown Vics or something like that. I messed it up again twice. It's new. We're learning it still. And then, of course, Buju with the Bull Ring Chronicles, and sometimes host of the Monday Night Rewind, sometimes host, although weekly now, but sometimes race fan, sometimes racer, definitely a historian in his own right, and someone who will be telling the stories of short track racing for years to come. With that, it's almost time to turn left and go fast because Buju.
We'll see you at the races.
We'll see everyone at the races again. Thank you, Scott, for joining us tonight.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.